David?
I haven't seen her yet, so.
David?
Yes,
I'm just checking you can hear us. We'll be starting soon.
and this is Bob Slavin.
Yes.
Okay.
Good morning. Good afternoon. None of those emails I had that link to it. So thanks, Dave. I appreciate it.
No problem.
We all good to go on y'all's side over there? If one of you have a slideshow,
No, we do have a little bit of a presentation, but it'll be oral.
okay, all right. Just want to make sure if you needed to share a screen or something, you could.
No.
Okay.
Stephanie was pretty good, clear that you've got a meeting in a half an hour, and we thought we would be more efficient and provide a better exchange of information if we provided it verbally.
Okay, can you see us over on y'all side?
Yes.
Can I didn't understand the question.
Are you able to see us?
I can see, yes, I can see 4 of you.
Okay,
5 of you. I can see 5 of you. Good. We can see you.
should be quite a few.
Yes. Well, actually, yes, there's, we can see the dais and the room, and then, right. I think we're okay.
Work session of the city council chambers, Grove City Hall, February 13th, 2023 at 5 p.m. The only thing we have on the agenda today for this work session, and we're gonna hold off on that for the regular meeting, if you don't mind. We'll be listening to the executive recruitment candidate, Slavin Management Consultants. They're going to present to council via Zoom to answer questions regarding the search for a city manager. Ms. Stephanie, did you want to introduce them, or do you just want to get straight into it?
Get started.
Okay, can y'all hear us?
Yes, Dave,
We will give you the floor for your presentation then.
and David, are you good? You're not good. Oh, you'll see both David's name on both my picture and his, and the reason for that is we had to share the invite. Mine didn't come through clearly. I'm Bob Slavin. First of all, and the company is Slavin Management Consultants. First of all, I want to thank you folks for making this opportunity available to us again. Last week we thought we had it worked out so that at least one of us could talk with you last week, but as it turned out, we had a client that changed our schedule and precluded that from happening. And I really appreciate the opportunity to talk with you now. I am president of the company. David and I have worked together for probably 15 years, David?
Yeah, that's about right.
And I think all of the work we've done in Texas and in that period of time, Dave and I have partnered on. And by partner, I mean it's Slavin Management Consultants, and David is an employee of the company when he's doing work for us. It's not a partnership. I don't mean to confuse you. We're a corporation. The company was established in the early 90s for the specific purpose of providing a variety of human resources related services to local governments and nonprofits throughout the United States. But prior to that, I had performed the same function for a couple of other entities, corporations, including a large one, Korn Ferry International. And have been doing this for a total of about 40 years. And prior to that, I worked for cities and counties. And in the course of my practice, I've placed or been involved in managing the placement of more than of approximately 900 executives in local governments and nonprofits, covering and that covers about 46 states. Of that, probably now 300 those placements have been city managers or county managers. You have our proposal, and I've outlined in that proposal where we worked in Texas. Some of those communities we worked for numerous times, so we've had more placements in Texas than that list would indicate. One of the things that this company, I think, offers that I'm very proud of is the staff that will be working with you. Dave Krings, I'm going to let him introduce himself in a moment, but has been active in local government management for a long period of time. He's worked for us, as I indicated earlier, for about 15 years. He's a retired credentialed city manager. He's been president of the International City County Management Association, and has other accolades that are listed in his bio, which you have in the proposal. And I'm going to be quiet, Dave, and let you kind of talk to about yourself and anything else you might want to.
All right. Well, as Bob said, I've got a fairly extensive career in local government, both at the county and municipal levels. I have, been blessed with serving as the president of ICMA, the International City County Management Association, which gave me contacts, literally around the world, any place where they have a council manager system. I find that while there are some unique characteristics, no matter where you go, no matter which state, no matter which country, there is a common core of what constitutes good management. There's a common core as to what the various councils and boards want. Now, we don't deceive ourselves into deciding what you want. The most important part of our recruitment process is the very beginning, where we sit down with each of the council people individually and go through what are the characteristics that of the next city manager that they want. And we say the characteristics, it's not just the hard things that really any firm would do. That, tell us the educational requirements, tell us the experience requirements. But we want to get into the soft skills. If you want a person who's a really strong command and control person, and we bring you a person who's really into collaboration, that person isn't going to last a very long time. That's bad for the person, it's bad for you, and it's bad for us. Bob will get into our guarantees later. But one of those guarantees is that if a person that we bring to you leaves within the first 2 years, we'll do the search over again without charge for our services. We charge only for the expenses. We want to avoid that at all costs. Plus, it's just an ethical thing. We want to make sure that we get you the best possible person. I often tell our clients that I want to make your decision-making in this process difficult. Difficult because we'll have so many top quality candidates, you'll have a hard time choosing among them.
Thank you, David. And looking at Groves, I have been real impressed, and Dave and I have both done quite a bit of work on the internet research. We've gone through your budget pretty carefully. We've looked at your organizational structure, your location, and some of the accomplishments that you've made, and some of the things that you've been doing recently, and will have plans to do in the future. And I think those, and the fact that your manager was there for 20 years, will all be things that will excite managers who might be looking to make a professional move now. So I think there's a product to sell there, and the location is an attractive location for city managers. So I think what you have to offer is wonderful, and what we can provide in terms of finding people that would be interested in your job is also impressive. We've done this work now for I already talked about it, I'm not going to repeat myself, but for a long period of time. We do have those strong guarantees. I'm proud of the fact that in our practice that we have only had to honor that guarantee for replacement 4 times. We really didn't have to honor it 4 times. One time I insisted on honored it 4 times and only once because of a performance issue with the city manager. And in that particular case, the council didn't want to let that person go. I insisted that they let him go because of some behavioral issues that I thought have happened once or twice would happen again, and they were incredibly outrageous. So we redid that. Another time somebody quit in 2 weeks before the 2 years was up. Another time somebody took a job with one council, an election took place, and ended up, when he reported, seeing 4 or 5 new faces. But more importantly, he was hired by a council that was pro-growth, and when he arrived at the job, it was go back to the 1950s type of a growth philosophy, and he didn't want to do that. So he stayed until we replaced him, but he left. And the 4th time, it was somebody died within the 2 years. So I'm real proud of that, because we worked a lot, and we spent a lot of time at the beginning of the process, as David said, learning what your needs are. We want to meet with you, and with your permission, with your staff, and with community leaders. And the whole purpose of that, first of all, when we speak with you, is to establish a pretty clear idea in my mind of what this mayor and council wants. But with staff and community leaders, it gives us a real insight into the community, the culture of the organization, and it's something that we find extremely valuable to being able to serve you. We're also proud that at least 25% of our placements have been of women and minorities, and that's a percentage that's increasing rather than decreasing. David was talking about our guarantees. It includes the 2-year commitment that to you. It also also included in that guarantee is that we will continue to work for you until you're happy with the candidates. Usually that happens as a result of one search and one set of finalist candidates that you were involved in selecting prior to the time you meet them. If it doesn't result in you finding somebody during those first interviews, we keep working for you until you do. We don't charge you our last invoice until after somebody has accepted a position and a contract has been signed and they start. We don't come there and make a list of your good employees and put them on our list of people to recruit in the future. You're a client in that regard. You're a client for 2 years. As far as the manager is concerned, we never actively recruit anybody we actually place there. We would be there at least 3 times in person, not virtually, at the beginning of the process for several days to talk with you folks to get a feeling for the community, and then during the right after the recruitment phase is over, we'll want to come back to you in what we call a progress meeting and discuss our findings, bring to you what we call a group of semifinalists, and have you provide a sufficient amount of information about those folks to you to where we feel comfortable that you could help sort that. Let's say there's 10 of them, sort that group of 10 into a preference group, and those that you had the most interest in become finalists, and then we go out and we actually begin our due diligence. And with us, part of that is site visits to the candidates, which people think look at me kind of strange and said, how can you do that? Won't you to visit somebody in their work location? Well, most of the time we can do it, and candidate will even if a candidate will introduce us as consultants who have an interest in their municipality, which is true. We just don't tell them what the interest is. But we gain a lot of insight into some of what David was referring to, the soft skills, and watching people interact with people that they work on a day in and day out basis. And we are looking for those soft skills when we're there. Some of the things that we think may cause our firm to stand out a little bit is this outcome-oriented process we use that's tied very, very strictly to what you tell us you want, and not something we pull off a shelf and bring to you. We're very interactive. Our conversation, we're there 3 times, but we're talking with you folks at least bi-weekly, and quite often even more than that. Mention that, I didn't say this, 95 of our city manager placements stay in their position far longer than the ICMA average, which is 5 years. It doesn't sound like much I'm sure to a community that's had somebody there for 20 years, but most managers' average tenure is about 5, and we're proud that ours is a 7+. So our costs should be competitive. We cap them, so you know ahead of time what your outside cost would be, and then we have we do charge for expenses, but those expenses are capped and don't go above that total, and quite often we don't spend the full expense budget, and in that case we don't bill you for what we don't spend. So I think it would be a good idea for me to be quiet and see if I can respond to questions that you might have.
Could you tell us about approximately how large the pool is that you would be pulling from?
It's a good question, and it varies. If you could ask me that before the pandemic, I'd give you an answer that it's a little different than the one I'm going to give you. But the reality is we're getting a smaller number of resumes. The quality's there, we're having to spend a lot more time in the active outreach recruiting to ensure that what I just said is accurate. But I would anticipate we would get about 40 or so total resumes, which we will screen down based on your criteria to maybe half of that. And then one of the things we do, we telephone them to preliminary interviews, but we also ask candidates that we're most interested in to complete a fairly extensive supplemental questionnaire, which is tied to your criteria, it's not a document that's that we pull off the shelf. It's something that's very much tied to what you're looking for, to your goals, to your strategic plan, if you've got one, to what you envision happening over the next 3 or 4 or 5 years. And that is a narrative document. It usually runs 4 or 5 pages. You'll have that at that progress meeting at that point, we'll ask you to determine who you're most interested in. And let's say we present 10, it's a long-winded answer to your question about how many. Let's say there are 10 on that short list or that semifinalist list. We'll ask you individually to rank those 10, 1 to 10, and then we'll tally the rankings and let you know what the group think might be. And those people who surface through that process at the higher end are the ones that we do the heavy due diligence on. So ultimately, you'll be interviewing about 5 folks.
On some of your candidates, are you gonna be interviewing people that you placed before?
Don't know. We have no way of knowing that. We don't recruit anybody we've placed before, but they have these jobs are in the public domain. They have every right to apply for them. And if one of those folks happens to be meet your criteria as well as others, then the answer to your question is yes. But we don't have any relationship with them that would cause us to be inclined to present them to you unless they really qualify. They don't know us anything. We don't know them anything.
And one last question that I have, would there be a problem of requiring that the candidates would have Texas prior experience?
No. No, there's no problem with that. And there's a lot of municipalities in Texas, as you know. If you'd ask that about some, maybe Indiana or Kentucky, where they have a lot of municipalities, but not a lot of council manager ones, I'd hedge a little bit on that too. But no, Texas should be, and I would imagine, based on past experience, that Texas managers would be the ones most interested in your job. I would also caution you, though, that not everybody that meets your criteria well it's a possibility the best ones may not be in Texas now, and we'll bring them to your attention too. We'll talk to you about them at the progress meeting, and if you agree that they're worth pursuing, we'll pursue them. If not, we won't.
I'd like to ask about your fee. It says $24,242,
Yes.
and the expenses I'm looking on page 17. If anybody wants to look at it.
Yes.
You say average advertising cost is $2,500.
Yes, and that's not an established cost. That's what it usually costs to place the announcements in the professional associations we use. It could be a little less than that, but it could be that. But that's one of those expenses that that expense budget portion of our fee is not to exceed. If it costs more than, we have to pay more to do the work that we're proposing to do, then that fee, that not to exceed fee, we do it and you don't know about it. Unless you ask us to do something that we hadn't planned to do, which very seldom happens. But it's the fee, the basic fee that, I had that in front of me a minute ago, that you pay. It's like a attorney's fee or a CPA fee. It's here it is. It's $15,640. And then the expense not to exceed expense budget is 55% of that, which is $8602. It's that $8602 from where the expense for advertising comes from, and our travel expenses comes from. The only thing it doesn't count, I include is candidates travel, cost for candidates to travel to you. We have no way of knowing where that would be. If they are all from Texas, Texas is pretty big. It's a possibility that it costs more to fly from one part of Texas to another part than it would to fly from out of state into Texas. But that's the risk we take with that is that if it costs more than that 8602 to do this work, then you don't know about that. And we don't charge you for it.
So the 24,242 is your basic fee?
No, the 15,640 is the professional fee. We add another the 8602 is the expense budget. You will pay the 15,640, but if we don't, and then we charge you in addition to that expenses, and our expenses will not exceed 8602. And if you add those two together, that's where you get the 24,242.
Okay, and is that paid in three or four separate payments or all?
Yes, once we come and build and collect the information necessary to develop a recruitment profile, which we send back to you in draft form. We don't begin the work until you approve it, because that gives us our marching orders, if you will. That becomes our gospel. So then we bill you. Once you approve that, we get started, we bill you a third. And then at the progress meeting, which I've described, as right after the final final filing of the date for the candidate's application, and we bill you another third. And then when you at the interview phase, where you're interviewing candidates, we bill you the other third, and then when the candidates, I'm not saying that right. We bill you 33 and a third we hold back 10%. So it's the third is a third of. I'm getting really confused.
A third of 90%.
Yeah. So we bill you 90% in the way I just described, and then we hold back 10%, which we don't bill you for until you have a candidate who's accepted employment and begun.
We should avoid the confusion on the candidate travel. They approve who they interview,
That's right.
and they pay whatever the travel costs are for the finalists.
And that usually runs, well, it's hard to say because we really don't know where they're coming from. If somebody's, again, you choose. If at that progress meeting, the best possible candidate, or among the best possible candidates, is somebody from Alaska or Hawaii, that'll cost you obviously more than if they're from the Houston or Dallas or San Antonio or Austin area.
Where's your home office space?
Atlanta, and thank you for, I meant to mention that earlier. That was a strategic decision I made several years ago when I began to do this work, to move to either Chicago or Atlanta, and the reason for that was the amount of traveling I do makes living near either O'Hare or Hartsfield Airport here much easier. And I had a partner at the time that had an office in Atlanta, so it was easy to just kind of add to that office. But it has really paid off for me because I can get to and from where I have to be much easier, most often without having to change planes, and sometimes the same day. So that's why it's there. Dave is in Cincinnati, and we have a small office in Arizona, and a very good and new a consultant working out of there, also a credentialed manager, and another one in Kentucky. And then our compact class practice is managed by an individual who lives in North Carolina.
So you would be doing all of your recruiting, basically you'd be doing it on Zoom or when you talk to candidates? Yeah. Once you tell us what you're looking for, we put our heads together and try to figure out where those folks will be. We ask you a lot of questions at the beginning of it, including, do you know folks who you think we ought to be, or you know places that are that have a particularly good reputation? We do a lot of, and that's sourcing. We do a lot more sourcing than just what I had described. But once we have a good idea about what you're looking for, we'll figure out where those folks are apt to be, one of the questions we'll ask is about geographical preferences. If it happens to be Texas, we'll cast the net nationally, but we'll focus our outreach recruitment efforts in Texas and only spread out as far as we need to from there to get the quantity of quality we're looking for. I beg your pardon, Commissioner, or Councilwoman, I didn't, I forgot I think I'm responding to the question, but I don't think I'm doing it directly. Can you repeat the question?
Okay, I was just asking that when you interview the candidates that you see would be good for our city, that you would not be there in person with them, but you would do it on Zoom. Is that how you do it? I mean, when do you meet the candidate in person?
Again, COVID has kind of changed things a little bit. We, without any wavering from this at all, always met the finalist candidates at their work location in their towns before you meet them. We have been, when that has not been possible, primarily because of COVID, we have been doing them over Zoom. And with that process, there are times when we will record those Zoom meetings and bring those recordings to you folks at the progress meeting, which does add some value to it. However, the in-person interviews of candidates is very valuable in terms of our ability to see them and how they act and how they respond. And there's no way to replace that kind of that connection by Zoom or phone or it's just well, it's like when you folks interview them, find the finalists. It's you can learn, you can see a lot, and you can make some decisions as you want to bring somebody to town by a virtual interview. But I don't think you would want to make a decision to hire somebody based on that.
And you do background? You do background checks?
Oh yeah, we do about everything you can think of. We do credential checks. We do education. We do criminal driving, criminal both county civil and national criminal, civil, sex offender registry, social media. I'm probably forgetting something. And did I say education? And we do referencing. We go back at least 3 employers or 10 years, and we try to talk to people who these folks have worked for and people who have worked for them and peers. So, and all that information is provided to you before you make a decision as to who you want to hire. Some of it is confidential. As an example, credit. We'll tell you that they have good credit or they won't, but if we provide to you what we get from our resource that provides that, first of all, it contains Social Security, driver's license, information that would be very easily misused. And also we have a contract with the company that provides us that information that precludes us from being able to hand that to you, but we can certainly tell you what's there.
You think you'll have a very big pool of people?
Large, did you say?
Yes. Do you think you will have a big pool of people that we can, look at and choose from?
Well, as I said a few moments ago, I hopefully we'll get about 40 and choose and be able to reduce that to something maybe 10 or 12 for you to take a look at. A couple of points that your question suggests. We need to make, in order to get people to apply for these jobs, we need to protect their identity to some extent. Texas law is we need to comply with what your attorneys say we can do. Texas law is interpretable by attorneys in terms of confidentiality. And so we will comply with what that attorney, he or she, tells us. If we have to release names, we'll want to manage that process so those those candidates' names are public for as brief a period of time as possible. So, sorry for the roundabout or the rambling answer to your question, but it's not an easy question to answer.
That's okay. Thank you.
Bob, will you and David be our points of contact for this, or will you be assigning a team if you were to be selected?
With Dave and I, and possibility of our new colleague from Arizona, but that's Dave and I will have to decide that. The real reason that I brought staff people, I started this firm so I could do search work. I left several several jobs in the past to avoid having to run a search practice, but not do the search work. So I've been committed to doing this work myself for a long time. But I brought people on because as I get older, the thought occurred to me that what happens to me and you folks if something happens to me. So that's why. But then I learned rather quickly what I should have known ahead of time, that there's real value to having people like Dave involved in these. So he'll be involved. Plans are that it would be he and I that you would see. You probably wouldn't see him without me or me without him, but we would be your the consultants.
Council, does anybody have anything else? We've kind of reached the end of our time here.
Yeah.
Does anybody have any other questions before we? Would you all like to make any closing statements at this time?
Well, only to say that we again appreciate the fact that you allowed us to do this. That's the only time I can remember doing and being in this business as long as I have that's ever happened. Usually, if we can't make it, that's too bad. So that I really appreciate. And the more I looked into your city, the more excited I became. I didn't know where it was when we first got the RFP on it, to be honest with you. But we looked at it and looked into it and looked at what you've done and read some things that we'll want to talk to you about when, it just looks like a real good opportunity, and it looks like something we can do and do well. And I think you'd be very proud of the work we do, and we'd be honored to be working for you. And Dave?
I agree that, well, as I said earlier, that our most important part of our search is when we're listening to you. And we intend, we hope we get the opportunity to do that listening and find out precisely what you want. And that may be having to do with being in Texas, or maybe any number of other things. We will listen, and we will bring you people that you want, that you describe.
And I know you have a meeting beginning like right now, so let me just thank you very much and tell you that we hope to be working for you and sign off. But thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for your time.
You're welcome.
Good. All right, we'll adjourn this work session at 5:33. Anybody need anything before we start the meeting? Just turn on this. Okay. You're okay there. All right. Call this meeting to order. City of Groves, notice of a regular meeting of City Council, Groves City Chamber, February 13, 2023. At Groves City Hall, it is 5:33 p.m. Joe rise for the prayer and pledge.
Oh God, we come before you with gratitude. I thank you tonight, God, for these, your servants, our mayor, our city manager, our city staff, and our city council members. I give thanks for the way of service they have chosen to take upon behalf of all of us here. We all come to this room tonight as complex human beings carrying burdens, carrying joy and hope, trusting that you alone can hold us together, oh God, in your love and peace. And so we pray that you would be glorified tonight through the decisions of this city council. We pray that we would have the eyes to see how our lives are all connected and how our common good is upheld when we listen and respond to those most vulnerable among us. We pray that your kingdom would come in Groves as it is in heaven through your power working in each of these servants. We pray for wisdom, for strength, for the courage to do what is right and good for all citizens. May we put the interests of others above our own. May we be good neighbors, recognizing that your image in every person here. We thank you again for this city council, our mayor, our city staff, our first responders, our hospital staff, and all of those who work to make this place we call Groves such a wonderful city. In the name of Jesus, whose perfect love sets us free from all of our fears. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you so much. Roll call, city clerk, please.
Mayor Moore,
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem McAdams,
Here.
Councilmember Dugas,
Here,
Councilmember Oliver,
Here.
Councilmember Menzel.
Here. I'd like to welcome everybody to tonight's meeting. Item 4 on the agenda is approve the minutes of the January 30th, 2023 city council meeting.
I make a motion, we approve the minutes of the January 30th, 2023 city council meeting.
I'll second.
Have a motion and a second to approve the minutes of the January 30th, 2023 city council meeting. Do I have any questions? No questions, we'll vote on the motion. Mayor votes aye. Mayor Pro Tem McAdams.
Aye.
Councilmember Benson.
Aye.
Councilmember Oliver.
Aye.
Councilmember Dugas.
aye.
Motion passes. Item 5 will be a presentation of a proclamation designating February 13th, 2023 as Violence in the Workplace Day.
That's part of the minutes.
Yeah. Amen.
City of Groves, Texas, Office of the Mayor proclamation. Violence against healthcare workers is on the rise. That has shown that over 5,000 nurses were assaulted in Q2 of 2022. This analyst found that 5,217 nurses were assaulted on the job, which equates to assaults every 2 hours, 57 every day, or 1,739 every month. Advisory Board of 2022. Legislation has already passed, making it third-degree felony in Texas to assault emergency room nurses. Whereas, as we declare that all health workers have the right to be free from violence and threats of violence while caring for our community. And whereas we declare that we will provide protection and respond to all acts of violence and threats of violence to the best of our abilities. And whereas we support initiatives and legislation at local, state, and national levels that promote comprehensive and collaborative approaches to address violence in healthcare settings that are consistent with our positions. Now, therefore, I, Chris Bourne, Mayor of Groves, Texas, do hereby proclaim February 13th, 2023 as Violence in the Workplace Day in the city of Groves, and ask all citizens to join me in supporting a healthcare environment free of violence. We hope that standing together will deter individuals from committing these acts against our healthcare workers and allow them to care for our community safely. In witness whereof, I hereunto set my hand and cause the seal of the city of Groves to be affixed this 13th day of February 2023. Anybody need pictures before I sit down?
I got one we all talking.
Okay. Thank y'all so much.
Thank you.
Item 6 will be reports and citizen comments. Mr. City Manager, do we have any reports today?
Just one thing I wanted to talk to council about. The last month or so, Troy and Michael have both been kind of updating me on some issues that we have in our wastewater system. And the three of us got together and we would like to see if next agenda, the 5 of you would like to put on the agenda to have a work session so that we can discuss this with all of you and kind of update y'all as well. on some things that are, kind of intriguing in our system. And I wanted to see if that was okay with all of you to be able to do that.
Sure.
We'll
Yes.
take care of that and we'll have that for next agenda then. We were thinking around March 2nd, it's a Thursday at 5. That's just a, if y'all want to just put that in your head and we'll go from there. That's all the reports I had in there.
Do I have any citizen comments at this time? Any citizen comments? All right, move on. 7A, consider approval of a request from Oak Grove Nursing Home to receive a discounted rate for permits on the upcoming expansion project.
I make a motion to consider approval of a request from Oak Grove Nursing Home to receive a discounted rate for permits on upcoming expansion project.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to consider approval of a request from Oak Grove Nursing Home to receive a discounted rate for permits on the upcoming expansion project. Do I have any questions?
How much of a permit?
They're around 36,000.
36,000.
Yes, ma'am.
That's one.
And we have Daniel Duperson from Oak Grove Nursing here. As
Would you
well.
like to make a statement, Mr. Daniel?
Thank y'all for considering this, and also wanted to say thanks for that wonderful prayer at the beginning. So it's such a messed up place that we live in these days, and it's nice to be a part of a community that still holds those values. So thank y'all. So whenever we were looking to do this project, it was before all the inflation hit. And it was actually a much bigger project. And then, you know, whenever all of our bids came back, it was so much higher that we actually had to scale the project back quite a bit. And then still, it's a lot more than what we were anticipating. So, you know, this has been a really tough business to be in. Through the pandemic, it was one of the, you know, kind of the ground floor, you know, where we're on lockdown the longest of anybody. And we had a couple of really tough years. And so, you know, this project wouldn't have even been possible if our building wasn't so, you know, old. We had a lot of equity in it. So we don't have to come out of cash to get our approval from the bank. So, you know, our position isn't near as strong as what we'd like to be going into it. And, you know, I know the fees, the building fees are based on a percentage of the project costs. So that's why they're pretty high. So I think it's 36,000 is what.
What percentage would you be looking for?
I mean, we, you know, we just had to come out 38,000, I think, for our property taxes last month. So it was that'd be a pretty big lick to pay that and then turn around and pay another 36 out of our operating capital to get the project started. So, I mean, I don't know a number to tell y'all. I mean,
An idea of maybe something that we could.
Mayor, back whenever we gave a discounted rate to the school district, was that a percentage?
It was either 60 or 40. I mean,
I think it was 60, wasn't it? Was it 60%?
yeah,
Okay.
Don, can you or Lamar
It was a percentage, but I can't remember.
speak to the fact that we identified a few problems with our permitting fees not capping on, you know, some of the larger projects. Does this coincide with the same kind of thing, Lamar? Where if we had a little bit different structure, we wouldn't be so exaggerated on the top end for the bigger projects.
Hell's right, the same issue we dealt with PNG.
I believe the consensus was, you know, we don't really have that many big projects, so it doesn't reach that, but if this is, can I ask you, is this just a remodel, or are you gonna be adding beds at the same time?
We are doubling the square footage of the facility. You know, we wanted to stay in Groves and so we purchased the property all around us. We're tearing down the houses on the sides and adding a brand new rehabilitation wing. So it's adding 20 new beds and a brand new therapy gym and a whole administration building. So there was gonna be a whole other wing full of beds. And our goal was to be able to have private rooms for all of our residents. But unfortunately, with the rise of the cost and everything, we had to scratch one of the wings. So,
approximately how many new beds will we be?
well, it's adding 20 new beds, which will open up 20 beds on the old side as well, because we're currently using those for rehab. So like our rehab will move to the new unit, and then we'll be able to hold 40 more basically on the other side, because they won't be private rooms.
Well, that went to planning and zoning. I remember it went to planning and zoning, then it came to city council and you presented us. I think you had something we could look at that time.
Yes, ma'am.
Mhm.
Yeah,
I remember all of that.
yeah. It's been a long time in the works. We've had a lot of obstacles that we've had to get past to get this thing done. So it's gonna be, it'll just be, a great day when we finally get it started. So we're really looking forward to it.
If you don't mind us asking, what kind of number is on this project,
It's an $8 million project, and then about another $1 million in FF&E that we have to buy, so.
Mayor, I'd like to recommend that we give them the same discounted rate we gave the school district, whatever that number was. That's just a recommendation.
Do you remember, Lauren?
I have to look it up, I don't recall.
If we have the record, we can look it up.
As in percentage wise.
Yeah. And I've been trying to remember what it was.
It was a great,
Well, it was 60/40 or something like
it was
that.
a good discount.
It was a very good discount.
Very good discount.
66. I think that's what it ended up being for the pay. Was like 66, but I don't think the percent of project was a lot larger.
$100,000.
Yeah,
And,
yeah, I think it was like 140.
yeah, but it was like $130-something thousand
So it
dollars.
may have been 40%. When are these fees due? Do we know, Don?
When it comes to, pay for the permit
Okay,
is when it.
how close are y'all to that?
We're pretty close.
Pretty close.
Yes, sir.
How close is it?
So the loan is in loan committee with the bank right now, and they want us to have permits and everything done before they approve it. So the bank is out of Houston, or they're local, but their main, most of their business is out of Houston, and there's always permitting issues in Houston. So.
So,
they
Mr.
want us
Muns, would it be inappropriate to have a motion for the same percentage, or do you need we need an exact number?
I think you can make the motion like you're proposing with the same percentages as the school district and have no issue.
Okay. Is that, I mean,
That would be very helpful. I don't know what that's-
somewhere between 60 and 40% discount, is that, are you okay with one of those numbers if it falls in there?
That would be tremendous.
So what's 60% of 36?
21.6. If he paid the 60%, it would be 21.6. 50% would be 18,000. So, but if we can make the motion without having the exact number and just use what we do, that would be up to whoever made the motion.
Ask a question.
Yes, sir.
You said, 18% would be what?
No, 18,000 was 50%
That's
markdown.
50%.
Okay.
60% or 40% markdown will be 21.6.
Mr. Boswell, is that enough for you to be able to, oversee and permit this project?
Oh, yes, sir. That's, the price and that will cover any kind of expense that we would do doing inspections and whatnot by far. Yes, sir.
So 18,000 would be.
If that would help the project go forward, I'm all for it. It will cover anything that we have by far.
So you said 60% is 21,600, is that what you're saying?
I think you said that was 40%. That what you said?
It was 18,000.
Well, 50% is 18,000.
16,000.
So
So would 50%
I make a motion.
We gave more than that to the school, didn't we?
Yeah, bigger project, she doesn't consider this. So we discounted it, the permit fee 66%
60%.
for the school.
You found it?
Yeah, it was on the agenda. It was 66%. Let me backtrack. I'm not taking credit for this. I just happen to have it in my hand. I did not find it. I am reading it.
Could you give us that total, what that would be?
Yeah, what?
If we discounted 66%.
Yes.
Get my handy dandy man. We're basing it off of 36,000, is that one?
It's slightly lower than that, but it's not more than
36,000
36,000.
work.
Think we could just amend it, improve 66%.
Yeah, 66% would be 12,200. That's a 66% discount.
Yeah.
Would that work?
That would be
It'd be
tremendously.
12,240 based off of 36,000. But if we just set the percentage, whatever the actual permit, if it's 35.9, whatever, it'd be a little different. So if you want to set the percentage. My motion.
Yeah. Percentage.
I'm gonna amend my motion to consider approval of the request at a discounted rate of 66% for the permit fee. I'll second. Have a motion and a second to amend the motion to include a 66% discount of the permit fee. Do I have any questions?
I'd just like to ask him, after this project's done and it's doing good, you're gonna probably look at later on going and adding the rest of it to it on the other properties.
We would like to, it'd be just right in the front of the facility.
Around the corner, I know where it's at.
All right. Any other questions?
Yes, sir.
No other questions? We'll vote on the motion. Mayor votes aye. Mayor Pro Tem McAdams.
Aye.
Councilmember Benzel.
Aye.
Councilmember Oliver.
Aye.
Councilmember Dugas.
Aye.
Motion approved. Motion passed. Thank you. for
Thank
your
you. Thank you very
attendance.
much. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Item 7B, discuss and approve purchase of a new garbage truck. I make a motion, we discuss and approve purchase of a new garbage truck.
I'll second.
Have a motion and a second to discuss and approve the purchase of a new garbage truck. Do I have any questions?
Mayor, council, as we talked about last week, the problems that we have with issues, we have a memo that I sent out to y'all, last week about this from Michael Trentrum, and, Michael is here also to answer your questions on it. And we also have Lamar here if there's any financial questions.
Okay, I was studying all this out and I printed up the 2021-2022 budget where you spoke about it in your memo, where the capital outlay for the garbage truck was $372,000. That's in the memo. I mean, it's in the budget for the budget, the letter that's in the budget. This is where we have that. Okay,
Right, it was split over 2 budget years.
it was, yes.
Yeah, the money was basically, I guess, stored in the equipment replacement fund. We haven't expensed it yet, we haven't paid for it, but we're just,
Have we
waiting.
paid half?
We have not paid any,
Thought
we
were
don't pay
supposed
any.
to.
No. We haven't paid anything, we won't pay anything until we get the truck. It was put into the equipment replacement fund to
Yeah.
sit there and wait, so.
Yeah, I
It's
know.
been waiting for a while.
So with this new truck, we would.
So
There's savings to it.
this is an additional truck that we're asking for. The first truck, we placed on order in 2021 in October. It's still not here. It's expected between March and April. This truck that we're talking about on here is a different brand. It's being used as a demo starting next week, actually. They're gonna use it for a demo for a month. They're gonna take it back to their shop. They're gonna completely rebuild it. Then they're offering it up for sale. We have first dibs on it. I have to email her tonight, whichever way it goes.
So will this replace the one that's on order?
No, this is an additional
It's
one.
gonna be an additional. truck.
Yes, because this is a very unique opportunity. If we were to order any garbage truck right now, we wouldn't get it until either December of 24, not 23, 24, or the first part of 25.
What's the expected price difference between the demo truck and a new truck if ordered?
16,000.
No, a new truck if ordered.
Oh, a new truck if ordered right now, it's 16,000, but we wouldn't get it until 2025,
But we've got the other truck on order, right?
correct?
And what we did was put 186,000 in the
The equipment replacement fund. Yes.
major replacement fund. Last budget, have we put it in for this budget? I
Yes.
think that would be a question for,
Yes, it was put
Okay,
in
so-
October.
so we've got 372,000 for the truck that we ordered.
Correct.
Not the one we're talking about.
Correct,
Okay, so we would need in addition.
yes.
Lamar, could you comment on
Put 196 in previous budget. In the current budget we're in right now, we haven't put any money in equipment replacement. Indeed, we're actually expecting to take money out of equipment replacement to pay for the new truck when it arrives.
And what approximately, what's the balance of that fund?
The equipment replacement fund, 916, I think right now, 916,000.
And do we have any of the money that's in there earmarked for other things for
No, sir.
new vehicle purchases?
No, sir.
Or,
So by getting this second truck, because you've got one on order,
Correct.
and we're looking at 2025 for you get it?
No, this one we would get no later than June.
The one you have on order.
It'll be here March or April of this year. That was ordered in 21.
Yeah.
And the money that's budgeted is to cover that truck.
Correct,
So this one we have to find the money to.
correct.
But there's money in that fund to pay for this one?
If the council chooses, yes, ma'am.
To pay for the entire thing.
Yes, sir.
Additional money.
Additional monies. Yes, this is an unbudgeted expenditure.
This is a very unique situation that we're in, as you heard from the previous people about the pandemic, the supply chain issues. It's taking longer and longer to get parts, to get vehicles. One of the problems that we ran into where we had to pay Republic to help us run our garbage routes because our trucks are so old, it's hard to find parts. We're running a 2007 and two 2010s, and our newest truck is the 2017. The 2007 truck, it's kind of like third string, but we were having to use it last week. As you dump a can in, it squirts a can out everywhere in the whole city. That's what we have to work with. And parts are getting harder and to find because anything that's 2010 and older, the whole state of California has banned all those diesels from being, you can't get them permitted anymore. You can't register them. So all these manufacturers are not making parts and stocking them for all these old trucks anymore. So stuff that used to be down for a week is gonna be down for months now. And it just piles up and then we end up having to rent trucks from Republic. That last little incident, it cost us $17,000 renting from Republic, and we spent $86,000 in repairs on these trucks, and they're still literally falling apart. One of them, we had to buy a bunch of metal to start welding on the bottom. The other truck that is waiting when that one's done, they're gonna start welding on that one again, so. This was a truck that with opportunity to get, so figured it was prudent to bring it to you guys, because it could be 2 years before we could get another one.
You got the motion for.
we may have a motion to discuss and approve purchase of a new truck. Yes.
Is it the same cubic yards as the old ones, the new ones?
Actually, it's 1 cubic yard bigger.
That don't affect the licensing of the driver?
No, that's the same. They all require CDL. The truck part, that's the engine and everything is the same as what we have on order. There is an auto car with a Cummins engine, an Allison transmission. It's all the same. The different is the bed. The bed is different. We were able to demo one, back in, I think it was November. And it did really well with us. It worked well in our routes, ran the whole route. We almost were able to put the whole route on the truck without going to landfill.
And it uses the same cans with the same arms.
Same cans. The arms are slightly different, but all the cans are manufactured by somebody else and they make them for everybody.
So we would have to, do we have to buy arms or does it come with arms?
It comes with it. Yeah, it'll be ready to go.
That's what you're,
And if this one, if this was approved, it will be here, they're telling me no later than June, so May or June. And then, the other one that's been on order is supposed to be March or April. So by this summer, we would have 2 trucks. We wouldn't be squirting garbage out as we pick it up. It would be reliable. We'd be able to pick up on schedule, because that's becoming a problem.
So the design with this new bed system
Mhm.
there, how old is that technology? In other words, do we run it for 5 years and now we can't get parts because it's
No, the bed stuff is fine. It's the engine parts that are the problems because of all this emission
not
stuff.
components?
Right, yeah, because they're all hydraulic cylinders that are simple. And this bed's actually an older design than the ones it's been since the 70s.
What
year model are both of these trucks considered? 2022 is the one on order. This one, I believe, is a 23.
so the $380,016, is that payable all at once, or do we pay it installments, or how do we do that?
It'd be all at once.
All at once?
It's the lifespan of one of these trucks. What's the typical lifespan and then what can we extract?
Typical lifespan of a garbage truck is 5 years. After that, you lose its usefulness. It becomes more costly to keep it running than you're making off of it.
But we have trucks,
We have, our newest truck is 6 years old.
right?
We've been up this truck, we got a 2007 still running, so we stretch them a long, long time.
But we do have money in the equipment replacement fund to cover this $380,000.
There's cash
Oh, we-
available in the equipment replacement fund. This line item would be dedicated to the solid waste fund. Now we're getting a little technical here,
It's okay.
but there is a fund balance in the solid waste fund that will cover this.
Okay.
But you'll be we'll be looking at a lot smaller fund balance at the end of the year if this expense is approved. Again, we budget on a 0 basis. So we'll be depleting the fund balance in the solid waste fund, but as far as the cash is available.
Does this stress things at that point, from that point forward?
Fund balance or cash? Actually, the answer is yes, it stresses both of those, as we discussed in November. It's any unbudgeted expenses, put stress on our financials. Now, that being said, there's alternatives. We can look in the upcoming budget to replenish that. But again, that'd be a budgetary decision for next year.
How soon do you need an answer on this?
Tonight,
Tonight?
I have to email her after the meeting
Oh,
to let
okay.
her know one way or the other, because there's 3 other cities in line. So,
We've been talking about garbage trucks at every meeting
Yes, we have, quite often.
and we're getting a lot of complaints on
I'm getting
stuff.
complaints.
I am too.
Well, in the past, when we have found a unique situation, a unique deal. Whether it created heartburn or not, I believe, the city has pounced on it, like in 2 trucks for the price of 1.5 for the fire department. I would like to show my support in going ahead and trying to get ahead of a problem that seems to be growing. And maybe just tighten the purse strings in the future. And maybe try to eliminate one problem before it becomes a bigger problem.
Well, we could handle that in the upcoming budget for the next year, though. We could find a way to,
As we've discussed, yeah, we can just put a line item to replenish the fund balance from the solid waste fund to offset this. But there'll be
So we could-
there'll be a give and take with the budget process to find ways to do that, but it can be done, yes.
okay. So we have a way of dealing with it. I think having 2 new garbage trucks is a good thing.
Well, we've been renting trucks quite a bit lately.
Yeah. And they would be delivered this year or so.
Yes.
Are these older trucks, are they sellable, possibly?
They are, and that would recoup a little bit,
Salvage them.
yeah, they're not worth a whole lot, but yes, they are sellable. I mean, we still use them.
Yeah,
So,
no, I understand that. I
Yeah.
understand that. I'm not saying get rid of both of them.
right.
If you kept one and.
The idea would be to get rid of one of them. And, bump everything down, and then, our main spare would be our 2017, which is our new truck right now, that would be the main spare.
So if nothing else, the money spent on that could be used to help repair the older one. Whatever, but.
Correct, yeah.
Can you ever break it down and sell parts on eBay or something?
Yes.
We go get some of those trucks in California outlaws.
Yeah.
Take them to Texas, let's go. Any other questions at this time? Okay, we'll vote on the motion at hand. Mayor votes aye. Mayor Pro Tem McAdams.
Aye.
Councilmember Benson. Aye. Councilmember Oliver.
Aye.
Councilmember Dugas.
Aye.
Motion passes. Good new truck on the way. Take care of them.
Thank y'all.
7C will be discussed and consider a draft amendment to the existing sign ordinance pertaining to temporary off-site signage in the city of Groves, right of ways and easements.
I'll make a motion, we discuss and consider a draft amendment to the existing sign ordinance pertaining to temporary off-site signage in the city of Groves, right of ways and easements.
Section.
Have a motion and a second to discuss and consider a draft amendment to the existing sign ordinance pertaining to temporary off-site signage in the city of Groves, right of ways and easements. Do I have any questions?
Oh, we got that today in our email and I haven't had time yet to read through it thoroughly.
This is the latest draft.
Yes, this is the latest draft. Basically, we provide some definitions of off-site signage, try to limit the ordinance or amendment to that specifically. We do carve out exceptions for yard signs, as was discussed at the past meeting. We carve out some exceptions for real estate signage. And then we provide for the ability for the city to remove signage that was.
Is there penalties to the people if it continues? Is there a penalty that these people would pay?
Fine.
Yes.
Yes, there is. It would be a fine consistent with other ordinance violations. It'd be a continuing violation if it was left up. And then continuing fines along those lines, $500 per violation.
Wow. Do you have something in here? Because I'm sorry, I wasn't able to read it through thoroughly today, but do you have something in there for people that put signs on city property?
Yes,
That it would be a fine or?
absolutely. It's defined that if it's within the right of ways or on city property, parks and things such as that, it would be a violation.
Or election signs permitted?
Election signs are permitted. They were already permitted in the past ordinance and we didn't touch anything.
Yeah, there are new ordinances.
I like it.
And the provisions you had in there also cover Mr. Menina's sign that he puts out once a year.
Absolutely. We took that into account. Yeah.
where did we get the 4 square feet in area for the yard signs for school activities, sports, military activities? Where did that square footage come from?
That was just something where I took a stab, so subject to change, if council would like.
Is that is also limiting on the private property, is that correct?
It is only for off-site signage that we're limited. Look, where are you at?
I'm under yard sign, under C. For newborn, well, let's see, home security can only be 1 square foot. Then it goes into school activity or sport or military activity or the presence of animals shall not exceed 4 square feet
Right,
in area,
right,
but seasonal decorations are excluded.
correct.
I'm just curious where that came from.
Are you saying only one sign? Is that what you're saying?
I'm just wondering where the size of the sign limits to,
I think,
where
that-
that came from.
I think that came from other similar ordinances. I think that that language specifically may have come from Euless, city of Euless.
Yeah, big the normal signs are that are being made for
They're less than 2 foot tall. They're about 2 foot wide,
one might not be
About 18.
4 feet tall.
24 by 18.
Yeah, that probably sounds about right.
It's less than 4
For the standard.
for standard election sign anyway.
Well, the election signs aren't covered in
Well,
that.
or for sale sign.
Yeah,
everybody-
I'm talking about if your daughter plays for the high school and you put a sign in your yard, it can't be more than 4 square feet. In your own personal yard,
Oh, you're talking about.
can't, not blocking driveways, not blocking easements, not blocking traffic.
Yeah, the
But
football
you're
sign.
limiting,
Should be no limit on that.
if someone gets a vinyl 4x8 sign, they're in violation.
Well, all of this is optional. We're not voting to make it stick tonight. This is just to
No,
go over things
this
and,
is helpful feedback though.
and
In terms of
figure
making,
out.
that's right, in terms of making changes, that's helpful.
Well, I would be, I'm 100% okay with, anything blocking the, well, school signs, welcome home from the military signs, anything like that. This says newborn arrival signs. I would like to see maybe that limited to maybe just no obstructed view of roadways or anything like that, because I mean,
Yeah, because people put balloons out and big old huge.
the yard signs for birthdays and anniversaries and all that stuff, that would be definitely more than.
Yeah.
I thought you were talking about city right of ways.
Well, no, this is yard signs for personal property, is what this says.
Let people get mine. Put mine where I want.
So,
As long as it's not blocking.
I would, yeah, and that would fall under the other. Side of the ordinance where you can't block,
But usually
street
that-
signs and things like that.
Yeah, usually those signs are closer to the house, usually.
Oh.
If we're helping with the draft, I mean, one thing I would like to see that maybe go away.
Very good. Thank you.
I don't see a need for that part of it. Everything else would be pretty standard and good. I would hate to be in violation of the ordinance that, you're putting out already, because mine's bigger than that. So,
Spending money on your.
yeah. It's recycled, but repainted, so it's good. So we have no action on this,
Well, just to discuss.
just to discuss. Okay. Any other questions at this time? That was the only thing I really saw, so. Was that, we had a motion to discuss, but I don't believe it calls for a vote. There's no vote, so. All righty. Everybody good with that one? All right. We'll move on. 7D, consider and approve a draft waiver for vendors participating in the Spring Fest event.
I make a motion, consider and approve a draft waiver for vendors participating in the Spring Fest event.
I'll second. Have a motion and a second to consider approve a draft waiver for vendors participating in the Spring Fest event. Do you have any questions? I don't have it here.
Yeah, you should
We
have,
got that
There it is. I got it.
in the email today too.
you should have an application at the bottom, the language, the whole harmless language.
So what is this exactly?
So this is the application for the vendors for the event. And specifically, we had a recommendation from TML that we include some hold harmless language and indemnification language, and so that's at the bottom of the application. I thought since we had that language, we should get it approved by council and have you consider that.
Does this go along with some of the other events that have been held where we want them to basically take care of their own stuff?
Correct.
Their own insurance.
Is the application, or I should say, this is the form that was presented to help us get to that point.
TML recommended some
Okay.
language, and that's included there at the bottom section of the first page.
Okay.
And your language here, it would completely exonerate the city. The city would not be held liable for anything, damage, hurt, or anything like that, and city employees and city council.
That's correct, with the one exception being claims arising from the sole negligence or willful misconduct of the city. So in that case, there still would be potential liability that's extremely unlikely.
And what would that be? An example of that?
If it was,
Putting roadblocks up or something?
if it was the city's employees specifically that took the act that caused the harm, so yeah, failing to act in any way with respect to an emergency, that would be one thing you should think of. Maybe failing to enforce an ordinance, that caused harm. If it was the city's employee that was responsible for that solely, then that would still be something the city could be liable for.
Any other questions? No questions? All right, no questions, vote on the motion. Mayor votes aye. Mayor Pro Tem McAdams.
Aye.
Councilmember Benson. Aye. Councilmember Oliver.
Aye.
Councilmember Dugas.
Aye.
Motion passes. Seven E, discuss and take vote on scheduling a date to select an executive search firm to hire the city manager.
I make a motion, we discuss and take a vote on scheduling a date to select an executive search firm to hire city manager.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to discuss and take a vote on scheduling a date to select an executive search firm to hire the city manager. Do you have any questions?
Y'all get your calendars out.
See, our next city meeting is the 27th. I'm assuming we probably want to do it before then. What kind of notice? 72-hour notice for the meetings? What's the 20th? Anybody have the 20th is President's Day? We're not.
Holiday.
Is the city's off that
It's
day?
also Congress. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Got the
Rather the 22nd.
Got that too.
That's Ash Wednesday.
Oh, yeah.
We could do it on Thursday, huh?
23rd.
We have to do it before the next city council
We don't
meeting.
have to.
Well,
Sooner the better.
you don't have to, yeah.
I mean, we've got
That's the only four we're gonna have, so
And I have a conflict with the 23rd, sorry.
21st, yeah.
Could we not do the 22nd?
That was actually.
Oh. Okay.
You don't want to point that out.
I said it. I didn't say I had a conflict with it, I just said it.
Looks like you made the.
Uh,
Oh,
yeah, with the 21st.
everybody's
I
off
want to go
then?
to church.
Oh, okay.
Does anybody have any issues with the 21st? It's a Tuesday, but I'll make it.
Shouldn't be alone, it'd be the only thing on the agenda, right?
Man, we would hope so.
Yeah, I'll do the only thing.
It's a workshop, so is it?
It's gonna be a special.
No,
It'll be a
it's
special
special
meeting, that way we can take a vote.
Because we have to vote.
Shouldn't we have a workshop to discuss the companies?
We can do it that day.
Yeah, thank you.
I mean, because I
Yeah,
want to just,
we'll have time.
I'd like to know what
Yeah, we
everybody's
do both.
opinion.
Well, we can do it just like this, we can talk about it,
Okay,
and we can have a discussion before we vote.
Yeah, because most of the time y'all discuss it before.
The day we wait, Chris.
The 21st is a Tuesday. If everybody pleases and someone wants to make that amendment,
what does that mean? I amend my motion to schedule a date of February the 21st, is that right?
yes, ma'am.
February 21st to select an executive search firm to hire for city manager.
You want to do it at 5?
I'm sorry, at 5 p.m. Is that good for everybody?
Second, anybody second?
A second.
Have a motion and a second to amend the motion to include the February 21st for the date on scheduling a date to select an executive search firm to hire the city. Do you have any questions on that? It'll be February 21st, Tuesday at 5 p.m. And that will be a special meeting. Any questions? No questions, vote on the motion. Mayor votes aye. Mayor Pro Tem McAdams.
Aye.
Councilmember Vincil.
Aye.
Councilmember Oliver.
Aye.
Councilmember Duty.
Aye.
Motion passes. Dates February 21st. Item 7F, authorize the city attorney to engage the services of third parties, including but not limited to forensic accountant and other third party that is reasonably necessary to determine if the city finances have been handled appropriately and take a record vote.
I make a motion that we authorize the city attorney to engage the services of third parties, including but not limited to forensic accountant and any other third party that is reasonably necessary to determine if the city finances have been handled appropriately and take a record vote.
A second.
Have a motion and a second to authorize the city attorney to engage the services of third parties, including but not limited to a forensic accountant and other third party that is reasonably necessary to determine if the city's finances have been handled appropriately and take a record vote. Do I have any questions?
I would just like to say that we're in the process of looking for a city manager. Having this audit would, I guess, give us as council, a better understanding of where our finances really are. And whoever, we end up, picking it as a city manager would basically have a clean slate to start with. So it would, I think would be something that, would have a lot of value. And whoever we would pick would appreciate, as a city manager, being able to come in, with that.
Well, if we do this, this starts a new period in our finances and our financial background in whatever questions anyone has concerning our finances. The people in the city have wanted a forensic accounting for a long time. However, since we're in the process of changing, finding a new city manager, I don't think it would be fair for somebody to come in and have a barrage of things against them. We need a start and a stop. We need a stopping place and a starting place where we know that city manager started here. We've had a forensic accounting. We know where the city's at financially, and that person can move forward from there.
Lamar, when's our next scheduled audit? Just,
We're in the middle of it right now. You have a questionnaire in front of you.
I saw that.
Mhm.
And there are another ones to be done like in March next month, or is it,
This
this
is
is
the
it?
same audit. It'll be
Same audit.
presented to council.
Okay.
But I think it's important to know that people in this city have been asking for it. I mean, I've gotten people that talked to me about it. And told me that this is something they want.
This would be independent of what is, regular business
Yes,
that the city, goes through, am I correct?
I'm not aware, of Councilman, I'm not involved in this discussion at all. So I have no way to answer that question.
I'm saying this,
a forensic audit is
forensic
separate.
audit. It is separate from the business of the audits that you go through periodically.
Again, I'm not able to answer that question as I'm not aware of what council's been requesting or discussing. This, I've been out of that. The city auditor has not been involved in this discussion. There's no way for me to answer that accurately.
Well, it would be a separate,
I
it
guess
would be
what
a
I'm
separate
saying-
county.
What I'm saying is the city goes through, these audits every year, am I correct?
The city has an audit every year, yes, sir.
Every year. This would be independent of that.
This would be separate and apart from the existing audit
Correct.
as
And
described
that's where
currently. I
I
don't
would
know
like to.
what you're planning on doing.
Yes.
Do we have any idea what something like this is gonna cost?
65,000 to start,
Minimal?
minimum,
How much is that?
$65,000 to
And
start. Depending on how much time you want to go back, depending on how expansive you want to do it, it's only going to get bigger from there.
better than I thought.
Well, I mean, how much is peace of mind? How much is peace of mind? How much do you pay for that? How much does the city pay for peace of mind saying we've had a forensic audit? They found or didn't find anything. We are a clean city. Our finances are clean and we start from there and go forward.
We wanted to include certain areas of our finances on top of what's already been done in the current audit. Can that be added to the current audit?
Absolutely. That's part of the questionnaire y'all been given, and y'all are welcome to reach out to the city auditor at any time and send a report directly to the city council.
I want to see an independent auditor come in aside from what normal business is.
So an independent that isn't leaning one way or the other, they're just doing the facts.
Yes, Mr. Baden.
As a former city councilman, 15 years, we had independent auditors every year. You couldn't spend money on a water treatment plant, you're gonna throw away $65,000 to $100,000 on an audit that we've already had and we've had every year, and we've never failed on one.
Mr. Baden, no decision has been made. Please do not put words in this council's mouth.
We're not throwing away money to begin with. This council doesn't throw away.
My opinion.
Understanding the concern there, this isn't to see who we can. I think a lot of people, may look at it as, we need to find someone that we can hang. That's not the intent of this. The intent is to find out where we are. I honestly, in 2 years that I've been on council, can't tell you if this city is, are we in the red? Did we carry over a debt from last year's budget to this year's budget? Did we carry any debt over into this year? In other words, to finish paying?
We have the bond issues that are scheduled,
Not
but
the-
there's not. There always gonna be a carryover. Once the fiscal year ends, there'll be invoices that come in after the fact. And those are always approved through adjusting entries back to the prior year. That's part of the normal course of closing the fiscal year. If that's what you're addressing. If you're addressing the fund balance, perhaps? No, okay.
No, just once the fiscal budget is spent,
Mhm.
is there additional monies left over or unspent? Or is there a negative?
It varies from year to year and fund to fund, and that's all discussed and presented in the budget, and in the audit that's been presented to council. And when the auditor comes and presents to council his findings, he's gone through each fund and described to you exactly where the fund balance was and the changes from the prior position of the year prior. In other words, we're gonna budget zero net. But reality is it's either gonna be a positive or negative at the end of the year. And that number will affect the fund balance or savings, if you will. And that's what they say, here's the fund balance at the end of the year after the adjustments have been made. And then we'll start from there with the new budget, again, budgeting zero, but as we just did with the garbage truck, there's a fund balance to pull from. That we can afford things like that or not, generally speaking, but that's presented to you in each audit.
Right, at the end of every year,
Yes, ma'am.
budget year, monies that have not been spent on what was budgeted are put back into general fund,
They fall to the fund balance, yes, for expenditure at a later date.
and then
Yeah,
every budget
ever.
is standalone.
Every budget is standalone, that is correct. So when council passes the budget, it's gonna have all the revenue sources with estimates. and It's gonna have all the expenditures with estimates for the upcoming fiscal year. And revenues have to match expenditures. That's why you have a zero balanced budget. And at the end of the year, you go through and count it all up and you can see either we did positive or negative, and that's just how it goes every year. And those are all presented in the audit.
So at the end of the last budget year, that would be September 2021,
Okay.
2020.
We're working on the 22 audit right now, fiscal year ending 22.
Okay,
The
So-
2021 budget or audit has been presented to council.
how much money was turned over into general fund?
We had almost about $100,000, generally speaking, to the bottom line, if that's what you're asking. And as you hear us discuss how the fund balance has grown slowly, that's exactly how we've grown it, going back to our November conversation. That's exactly how we've been trying to increase the general fund balance after we recovered from Harvey.
I think this would be a big asset for us and the new city manager coming in. To me, this is a small price to pay, $60,000 or $70,000 to understand exactly what our budget, what the forensic audit would show us.
So through the current auditing process, if there was money missing, would the current audit find it?
Indeed, that's part of their job is to find those type of issues.
So,
And they
so with the
identified-
clean audit for the last 5 years, they've identified no missing, because every money, every dollar that came in was spent on the city. So I see no need to spend $65,000 to tell us that we've done the right thing, so. I am not in favor of this. I don't believe it is any benefit to us whatsoever, except possibly trying to sling mud at somebody in the past.
We're not trying to sling mud at
I can
anybody.
have my opinion, Ms.
Yes, you-
Dugas.
Yes, you can, and you don't have to yell. What's wrong with you? Dear Lord,
Well, I'm tired of getting cut off by you. That's what's wrong with me.
I didn't cut you off. And by the way, we're not slinging mud at anybody. What we.
The mayor's
want is
opinion
a
has been
clean
stated.
City with clean finances, and this would give it to us.
I think it's a tool that would work very well, with us in the process of hiring a new city manager. Letting him know that this has been done. And that, as he, works through his, tenure, that, something doesn't come up, he gets blamed for, there's a fresh slate, let's say, to go with. I think it's a tool that would, be very beneficial.
Any other questions? No questions? We'll vote on the motion. Mayor votes no. Mayor Pro Tem McAdams.
No.
Councilmember Benzel.
No.
Councilmember Oliver.
Yes.
Councilmember Dukes.
Yes,
Motion fails.
city, I'm sorry, but I did my very best for you.
Item 7G, consider and discuss authorizing the city attorney to conduct an investigation into accusations alleging violations of the Open Meetings Act and take a record vote.
I make a motion to consider and discuss authorizing the city attorney to conduct an investigation into accusations alleging violations of the Open Meeting Act and take a record vote.
A second.
Have a motion and a second to consider and discuss authorizing the city attorney to conduct an investigation into accusations alleging violations to the Open Meetings Act and take a record vote. Do I have any questions?
Can you elaborate on this exactly what that would involve?
Yeah.
Cause I'm at a loss here.
Well, I actually would need guidance on that too. So there have been numerous accusations that have been presented to me related to violations of the potential violations of the Open Meetings Act from a variety of different parties. And so the question really is for council, does council want me to look further into any of those alleged violations? And to the extent they do, I would need guidance as to, what we would be looking into. The authority to do this comes from the charter itself. In terms of the investigative authority of the city attorney, but I would need guidance in terms of what we're looking into.
Did you feel that from your discussions with whomever has questioned, do you feel that it warrants this?
I think there could be some advantage to the city to conduct an investigation. I will say that so far from the information I've been provided, I don't necessarily see that there have been violations, but they've been accused, right? And so I think there could be some benefit for the city to look at those things and determine are all the operations of the city compliant with the Open Meetings Act? And so along those lines, I can see some positive coming from.
Okay.
Well, with an accusation there, or several accusations, or many accusations, whoever they're against, or whatever is being said, it would be to the benefit of the city, of city council, of the residents of the city to know whether or not something has been violated with the Open Meeting Act.
Now, I mean, to be clear, what I can offer there is I don't offer the answer as to whether there's been a violation. That's something the district attorney might investigate, other
Right.
law enforcement officials might investigate that.
Yeah,
But the city attorney does have authority to look into the procedures and determine if there's been a violation and then work to try to correct that if that had been the case. So I think there's some value potentially in just identifying that we think there's anything that we need to do better.
right.
Any other questions? All right, no other questions, we'll vote on the motion. Mayor votes no. Mayor Pro Tem McAdams.
Aye.
Councilmember Wenzel.
No.
Councilmember Oliver.
Aye.
Councilmember Dugas.
Aye.
Motion passes. 7H, amend resolution authorizing participation in the tax pool investments pools and amending designating authorized representatives.
Need a motion?
It doesn't say, but yeah, I would assume so if we're changing something, yes.
Resolution, we need a motion?
Yeah.
I make a motion, we amend resolution authorizing participation in the tax pool, investment pools, and amending designated authorized representatives.
I'll second. Have a motion and a second to amend the resolution authorizing participation in the tax pool investment pools and amending designated authorized representatives. Do I have any questions? And this is, I believe the explanation here is to remove Mr. Sosa and add Mr. Vio. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. Just as signatures.
And we'll have to do this again when, if and when the change comes for the next person.
So all this does is add Mr. Billy.
It removes Mr. Sosa and adds Lance, will help me spell.
Thank you for pointing that out, Lamar.
Any other questions?
One more responsibility.
No other questions? Vote on the motion. Mayor votes aye. Mayor Pro Tem McAdams.
Aye.
Councilmember Venzel.
Aye.
Councilmember Oliver.
Aye.
Councilmember Dugas.
Aye.
Motion passes. 7I, discuss and consider authorizing at the request of Stephen Mercantile, owner of the bonus game room at 5130 Twin City Highway, that he be allowed to temporarily continue operations during the suspension of applications pending the consideration of proposed amendments to the game rooms and gaming machine ordinance.
Is Mr. Mercantile here?
Yes, he is.
Oh, there you
But we'll need a motion in a second.
I'll make a motion, we discuss and consider authorizing at the request of Stephen Marcantel, owner of the bonus room at 5130 Twin City Highway, that he will be allowed to temporarily continue operations during the suspension of applications pending the consideration of proposed amendments to the game rooms and gaming machine ordinance.
go. A second.
I have a motion and a second to discuss and consider authorizing at the request of Stephen Mercantile, owner of the bonus room at 5130 Twin City Highway, that he be allowed to temporarily continue operations during the suspension of applications pending the consideration of proposed amendments to the game rooms and gaming machine ordinance. Do I have any questions? I believe we're in the process of trying to change the ordinance for a special permit or a specific use permit. And this would allow him to stay open up and through his the application process, so that we finish and he can apply, and then he would get a decision through that. Are there any other questions? Or any questions at this time?
So how would we do this? We would vote on what, giving him a temporary pass, is that what you would call it? How would you put it, Mr.?
I agree with that temporary allowance of continuous operations. And I think you could choose to do it for a definite period of time, or you could choose to do it until we've enacted the application, allow him some time after that. I think it's gonna take him some time. He's gonna be required to comply with the specific use component. So I do think that's one thing that we need to think about and consider, if he's gonna be expected, if the ordinance were to pass. And if he were to be asked to comply, you know, how much time would he need? I think that's something we have to think about.
And you can tell us that.
Yes, ma'am. First off, allow me to say thank you for bringing us to speak today. I understand everyone is busy and it's been a long meeting, so I'll try to keep this as brief as possible. My name is Stephen Morgatel, and I'm the owner and operator of the game room located at 5130 Twin City Highway. My first concern is the nature of how this vote came to pass. As you may be aware at this point, we were grandfathered into these special use changes for this year. This was also confirmed on the news by the city manager, D. Sosa. I also called Mr. Sosa to verify these statements after I saw the news interview, to which he did. To further add credence to this exact situation took place from November 2019 to February 2020, when the game room regulations were initially voted in. We were approved and allowed to operate in November of 2019. And 3 months later in February, the regulations were voted in. We were grandfathered into those until the following year when we renewed. So while the council did vote to not allow us to put in that application this year, that did not remove us from our grandfather clause. So that being said, I do not understand why the city would put itself into a precarious position like this. I have been informed that there is absolutely a legality issue with this method and with this, in which this has taken place. And with the public statements being made by the city official in charge of this situation, it's going to be extremely difficult to walk this back. I also do not wish to harm the city in any way, and we are very grateful for being allowed to operate. We have done our best to honor our word and that we would run this place clean. We have never broken a regulation or rule in more than 4 years of operation. This brings me to how we keep this place run clean and why this situation presents a hardship that cannot be avoided if we are shut down. We keep armed security outside the door from open to close, 7 days a week. Because of this, we have never had an altercation out during business hours in the 3 years that we have had security outside. The community of people who play with us are either elderly retirees who just don't want to drive to Louisiana, or plant workers who just come to blow some steam off in the afternoons after work. All business is not good business, and we would not subject our neighbors to having customers who are not decent people. Anyone who speaks to the contrary need only supply date and time, and I can provide video evidence that there's absolutely nothing going on at that place that shouldn't be. I have 6 months video history surrounding the building. I can be sure of that because I employ guys who absolutely do not want to lose their jobs. The going pay rate for a game room employee is $9 an hour. And I pay my workers $30 an hour. This is not because we make so much money that I can just give it away. This is because I've always been a believer in changing a person's quality of life, even at the expense of my own, which is exactly what I've done with these employees. These guys are all graduating in December with master's degrees from Lamar, every single one of them. I have 2 chemists, an advanced programmer, and a civil engineer. I hired 1 chemist first, and in November, after I saw the news and spoke with the city manager, I told the 1 worker I needed more guys just like him. Meaning hardworking, salt of the earth type guys who were honest and loyal. So he went and got 4 of his personal friends who all graduated in the same class to come and work for me. His only concern being that these guys would be quitting their jobs during their last year in school. I assured him that we had no reason to be concerned about their employment, as we do not operate in a way that could get us shut down, and the upcoming changes we are grandfathered into until after all of you graduate. So these guys all set their final class schedules based on their days off at this game room. Just to be clear, for the past 3 years, I have paid $2,500 a week to have security outside every day from 9 a.m. until 11 p.m. when we are absolutely the only people left in that parking lot. I would need to be robbed every week in order to make security worth it from a financial standpoint. I keep security not to protect money, but for my workers, for my customers, for my neighbors, and for the city. We have an issue with 1 gentleman who I chose not to hire, who then tried to blackmail me and proceeded to rob me over and over this past year. But he never did so with security present, and never until late in the night. Because during business hours, we have always been completely safe. Now we have changed all policies to where there's nothing to steal after hours either. Also, that gentleman has been arrested and is not getting out. So there's no one to save by shutting us down. Only employee lives can be damaged today. My number 1 priority has always been safety up there, which is why we chose to install lights all the way around the building to shore up gaps in security back there where it was dark. I paid out of pocket for this, along with many, many other things at that building, just to help leave it better than we found it. However, no one in their right mind would spend thousands of dollars doing something like that just to operate for another 40 days. Also speaking to the same effect, I spoke with the city attorney after my application was denied initially, trying to understand what was going on. He then advised me to continue on in this process for my renewal and do everything we normally do. during that process. Well, that advice has me spending thousands more dollars paying for state and county tax as well as machine stickers for the year, all being done to renew. Never questioning spending this money because I'm grandfathered in and no one is telling me otherwise, even though I'm bringing it up constantly at this point. I can't afford to pay these guys salaries if we get shut down. That's the downfall to paying that much money in salary. It can't be covered without the income. So these guys who start making 3 times what they have ever made before now, have new places to live in vehicles that they will absolutely lose if they lose their income, which is going to destroy the credit of 5 guys who have been on the dean's list at Lamar for 3 years. Even only temporarily losing employment does this. Considering the path we have taken to get us here, I just don't find that right. I gave these guys my word they would be employed until December, the same as I gave the city my word I would run that place clean. I honor my word. That is why I'm feeling like I need to fight this. I don't even want this place anymore. It has ruined my mental and physical health. I spent the last year thinking that this guy was going to break in my house every night.
Mr. Markendale, may I ask you a question?
Yes.
The specific use permit, is that something that's going to stop your business from going forward? Because it's just a specific use permit.
Right, and the problem is that our renewal lapsed on the 10th.
Right.
Which put us at the mercy of a specific use permit, meaning that if the idea was to shut us down, not saying that that would be, but if people had a preconceived notion and wanted to vote no without even giving us a chance, it puts us at the mercy of that and shuts us down when we should have been grandfathered through this process and had to deal with this next year, which I don't even plan on renewing it next year. So.
Well, Mr. Markendale, even with the specific use permit, and even if your permit were being renewed like from the 10th, if the city council had voted at that time for a specific use permit, you would have to go by those rules.
Correct, but they didn't.
Well, we haven't gotten to the voting part of it yet.
Right, but the issue that I'm finding is that with the lapse, it puts me in a position, like I said, which puts me at the mercy of that, when legally I had a grandfather clause that allowed me to move beyond this process this year. So in going through this,
But you would still, when the.
I
we
find-
have the public Hearing today, no, that's, I'm sorry, we have the public hearing today, and city council hasn't voted completely
Right.
for this. But if in fact we do, are you saying that that specific use permit would shut your business down?
no, ma'am, no, ma'am. The problem is that if it's denied here or the next time, because of how this happened, it places the city in a strange situation. And that's what I've been informed by my representation and looking into this when I was
Your
told.
legal representation?
Yes, ma'am. When I was told that I couldn't put the application in. To me, it didn't sound correct, so I contacted somebody to see if that was, to try to figure out how to navigate this situation.
Mr. Monk, what's your opinion on this?
So the application is a yearly application.
Mhm.
I have a hard time understanding the presentation that somebody would be grandfathered in. In terms of the timing, I think it was unfortunate timing. And I think that's what we're trying to correct here with this agenda item. Is my understanding is we're not necessarily debating whether we're gonna go to specific use or not, because that's for later in a hearing. But the question right now is whether we want to temporarily allow them to remain open and give them an opportunity to see what happens and then come back to council with that. So I think we're, in my mind, we're jumping ahead and we're assuming that he's going to be out of business. And I don't see that that's necessarily the result if the process goes the way that council should handle it. So.
Hey, if that's the way it goes, that's perfectly fine.
At this time, would you be willing to accept a temporary extension? That we're voting on, that we will be voting on
Yes,
tonight?
sir.
How long would the temporary extension be?
I think that's up to council. And I think that's an important question because if he is going to be required to go on and submit for specific use, that could take him some time to get together.
How
So
much time?
I already know what it entails.
I would think weeks. It's an application,
Okay.
So if we said, okay, we'll give a 2-month extension, we should have the ordinance in place by then.
Don, do you have any information on this?
Yeah, for a specific use permit, it takes at least a month and a half.
Okay,
Okay, so everything goes.
So I think that's the latter, that's the bigger problem, probably.
Okay, so if we give a 3-month extension from now, then that gives us time to have the ordinance in, it gives him time to operate his business, and then at that point, at the end of the 3 months, you would apply for.
I think that's very fair. Yes, sir.
I agree.
Okay. Yes, sir.
So. Thank you.
so your recommendation was 3 months?
Yes, sir. That gives, Mr. John ample time to. Take care of his, it could take up to 2 months, so
But that only gives us a month to finalize the ordinance.
We have the public hearing today, planning and zoning votes on it. Rodney Passetti's here today, you can speak to that, the planning and zoning vote.
Yeah, planning and zoning is here. It looks like we have a quorum here tonight. And, so following the public hearing, we have a scheduled meeting. And then we'll go from there and then it would.
And then it goes back to.
Then it
city
comes
council.
back to city
The next time
council.
you'll-
Final.
The next time y'all need to be on the agenda for y'all.
The next city council meeting? Okay. That timing seems to work.
And if whoever made the motion wants to amend for a 3-month time frame extension,
Rob, I think you made.
I'll make a motion. Amend the motion to extend operations during the suspension of applications for 3 months.
Oh, a second.
I have a motion and a second to amend the motion to include a 3-month operations period while the applications have been suspended. Do you have any questions? No other questions, vote on the motion. Mayor abstains. Mayor Pro Tem McAdams.
Aye.
Councilmember Vincent.
Aye.
Councilmember Oliver.
Aye.
Councilmember Dugas.
Aye.
Motion passes. Let's see, item 8, city attorney, but nothing for you today. 9, city manager invoices, please.
The invoice list for February 13th, 2023. City of Port Arthur landfill fees for December 27th, 2022 to January 25th, 2023, $19,490. DXI Industries coring for the water plant, $6,861.60. DXI Industries chlorine and sulfur dioxide for the water plant is $9,031.20. Entergy electric bill for all city buildings, $46,140.61. Isle of Texas replacement dump arm for rapid rail system on garbage truck, $5,639.96. Lower Natchez Valley Authority raw water purchase, $23,940.74. Novus Wood Group grinding and hauling off of green waste debris, $10,904.90. Philpott Motors catalytic converter job for 2 police cars, $7,052.02. Republic Services commercial dumpster collection, $6,448.08. Roto-Rooter Beaumont replacement of RPZ at the fire station, $5,923.78. Vulcan Construction Materials, base material for backfilling roadways after utility installation, $5,190.93, for a grand total of $146,623.82.
I'll make a motion to approve the invoice February 13th, 2023.
Second.
A motion and a second to approve the invoice approval list for February 13th, 2023. Do we have any questions?
Yes,
I'm sorry, go ahead, Shay. The catalytic converter job for the two police cars, was that a replacement, repair?
That's a good question.
Two of them.
Reading my mind.
Special call.
It doesn't say on here. I don't see any further information.
Can we find out?
I could find out for you definitely, is there?
Do you know?
It's for two Ford Explorers. They were clogged for use. Each vehicle, I think, is over 100,000, maybe 130,000 miles. That was the purpose. If I could say,
So it is replacement?
not theft.
Not theft.
We weren't investigating anything. in the, night park area, but-
Yeah. That's good.
What is an RPZ part of the?
It's actually, it's not the RPZ that it was the backflow preventer that's on the outside. It was got caught in the freeze. Unfortunately, got caught up in the freeze, yes.
Do we have any warranty on
It's
it?
exposed to the.
Yeah, we have since got some I've got SEI gonna do some insulation for us on that. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So it's above ground there.
Yes, sir. Yeah, it's one of those things we've never had to deal with and never really thought about. And they say that it happens quite a bit because people forget about them just that way.
Any other questions? No other questions, vote on the motion. Mayor votes aye. Mayor Pro Tem McAdams.
Aye.
Councilmember Wenzel.
Aye.
Councilmember Oliver.
Aye.
Councilmember Dugas.
Hi.
Motion passes. Item 10, councilmember comments.
Got a couple things.
Yes, sir.
I'd like to see a couple reports. One, while Mr. VO is in this position, anything that he finds is concerning or anything he wants to bring to our attention, maybe do it in a work session. Not so much personnel matters, but just anything, you know, didn't find like you were talking about, you know, something to that degree. Something the city's not functioning properly, something that you see that since you're here, but it's kind of a unique situation. And I like to identify some of these things before we bring somebody else in.
As of right now, that's the thing I found.
Okay.
So if I find something else before that, I wouldn't say I found,
Right.
it was called my attention.
Right.
I'll say that.
And another thing is I'd like to get a report on the Mike Harris building on 39th Street. I keep getting calls on that. Is Dawn still here?
No.
Okay.
I think they.
Just curious. Do
Sorry.
you know where we stand on the Mike Harris building on 39th Street? Where do we stand with
Well,
that?
there's a buyer interested in buying all his properties there on the corner, the old convenience store, the sweets or lack of better term, the little shops right next to him, the lady concession stand behind him, so I don't know where they're at with that. That's a commercial building. It'll take a lot of money for the city to bring that down.
So so if someone purchases that, is that gonna give them the responsibility of taking care of it and bringing it up to code?
They were wanting to renovate it and put offices there, is what his plans are. And he's done it here in Groves before. I don't want to tell the guy's name because he didn't.
That's fine. And the other one is the Renaissance Hospital. Do you know where we stand on that?
No, sir, other than a man's also was inquiring to make living assistance.
I haven't spoke with the individual that's buying it. He is in the process of, they're moving forward. It's just a long process,
Right.
but it keeps moving forward.
Okay.
We need email on that. We need email updates on the Mike Harris building and on the hospital.
That's it, Mayor.
Any other council member comments?
Yes, I do. The two items, F and G. I had asked that they be scheduled on the previous previous city council. And, we were told that you, Mr. Bourne, had asked that they be, put off until this city council because you were out of town.
I did, yes.
Yes,
I did.
but that is not in the charter. It is not in the ordinances and it is not in the procedure book that is the right way to do. We could have gone ahead and put it on the city council agenda. And we could have tabled it until you had gotten back in town.
Understood, and I believe Mr. Vio has already taken responsibility for that and been
It's not
reprimanded.
No, it's not Mr. Vio.
Oh, are you blaming
He
me
did.
for it?
Yes, I am. Because you're the one that asked that it be done and all he did. was
I'm allowed to ask,
You can
and I
ask.
said,
Yes, you
Mr.
can
Vio,
ask, but it is
I would like
not.
to ask council
It
to
is
move it to
not
another
in the
meeting.
charter, it is not in the procedure, it is not in the ordinance. So it should have been allowed to be put on the agenda.
I never
We could have
didn't allow
tabled it.
I never said, don't put it on there. I said, ask
You're
council
blaming
if
Mr.
they will.
Vio, and he's an interim city manager, he's new at this, he didn't know. It is not his fault.
Okay. Mr. Vio, did I tell you not to put that on the agenda?
No, sir, I asked if anybody had any opposition.
You don't have to explain anymore. We're good.
No,
You've
not
already taken
exactly.
your reprimand.
No, he has not been reprimanded at all. Maybe by you, but not by me,
Well, go ahead.
but you should.
Reprimand him. He's sitting right there.
Stop it. It is not a laughing matter when you violate, when you don't go by the ordinances, the charter, or the procedure, it's not funny.
Are you accusing me of
The
something?
next time
Are you
this-
accusing me of something?
The next time this happens, I would like things to be put on the agenda. We can table it until you get back in town.
I never asked him not to put it on there. I asked him to
No,
ask council.
You're so good at passing the buck to Mr. Vio, but he did not know any better.
He sent out an email saying, please,
Funny.
please.
I
respond.
give it out to you,
Hey.
can't tell me not to,
Order, both of y'all.
okay? I'm a citizen.
Contain yourself, Mr. Baden, please.
Oh, shit.
I was allowed to ask a question. I did. He sent out an email asking you for your
Yes,
response. You
and
did not
I-
respond.
No.
He made a
I
decision.
responded when I asked that it be put on the agenda. And a second was done, it should have been put on the agenda regardless of what anybody else asked, because that's the procedure.
So are you accusing me of something? Is there a formal complaint or a file to be charged? What would you like to do?
I don't know if there is.
What would
then we
appease you,
should.
Ms. Dugas? What would appease you? What would make you happy in this
For you to
situation?
do what, look, I'm not the one that wanted to subvert the charter in the first place. But I would like things to be done the way they're supposed to be done. I have to do it that way. I'm held accountable. Why isn't anybody else?
Any other council member comments?
Do you have an EDC meeting after?
We have two public hearings and an EDC meeting. Being no other comments, we will adjourn this meeting at 7:08.
Yeah. It's not a bad. It's a one man. So I'm only gonna go first. Yeah, it's like I'll share it since I'm. He said back and forth with our girlfriend, he has a Steve Bow, that feet on your pool. It's so like that, I just had him. Robin Ritter had probably had all the. John Scott. And
That. had to be shut down.
So this is food truck. Jason's already up there.
4 weeks forward. It's a little about her house.
You know, it's not very costly.
Yeah. I'll change it.
Well, I mean, this is bigger system. I don't have the picture of it here.
You the one that got recruited?
Okay, so.
He's out here when I'm done. She's, they don't know. Yes.
I didn't know she was, but if you drove by like those. Yeah.
And I
And
didn't
then
think.
we have, and then. It might be a lot better. This. Right there. I mean. Right now, we just got a bunch of. But luckily, the checks out. Originally, check balance inside there was broke. That must have been, $15,000. Everybody said the check balance.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, of course.
Bound. Been an hour in there.
You know what?
Yeah.
We have. So if anybody wants to know, we had a very good meeting. Appreciate the meeting, us meeting with him. He wants to be at the workshop. I thought people that we if he wasn't such a big beat up. Well.
Recall this public hearing to order. Notice of a public hearing. Notice is hereby given that a joint public hearing between the city council members and planning and zoning commissioners will be held on Monday, February 13th, 2023, directly following the regular city council meeting, which begins at 5 p.m. at 3947 Lincoln Avenue, requested by the building official for the change of the ordinances listed herein. To consider an ordinance amending chapter 21, article 3, game rooms and gaming machines of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Groves, requiring a specific use permit application yearly in order to operate game rooms and gaming machines in the city, providing the codification and providing for publication, publishing the caption only, making findings of fact, and providing for an effective date. This meeting is a joint public hearing in compliance with the rezoning ordinance of the City of Groves. For additional information, contact Don Pedraza, building official at 409-960-5707. In accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act, Chapter 551 of the Texas Government Code, this notice is hereby posted February 8th, 2023. The Director of Neighborhood Services, Don Pedraza. We've read the notice. Mr. Pedraza will recognize the individual making the request. Is he here? There he is. And I guess council was the one requesting also that it be specific use. So do you want to tell us what this is, and then we'll go into questions?
Yes, sir. Well, of course, we already have a gaming room, gaming machine ordinance. This is just something that would amend it to look at it on a year by year basis, which I think actually the council's actually brought that to me to get that through. So that's what we're hearing the public hearing. So everybody has their chance to come before you guys.
Okay. Do we have any questions from city council concerning this public hearing?
I'm satisfied with the ordinance. Anybody else?
Is the intent to have a different fee for this than the regular special use permit?
It'll be the same thing, same application.
Same application.
Don, how much is the fee?
$250, $250.
Okay. Any other questions by council? How many questions from the Planning and Zoning Commission?
I don't believe so, unless any other, any other questions. We've already had a discussion on this.
Okay.
No further questions.
Just out of curiosity, how many applications have we received in the last year?
First,
Well, no, anyway, no.
It's the same ones we had before.
So just
There's been
no new ones have been
one new one has requested it since we
put the pause.
put the pause on that.
But you just got the application, they didn't fill out and turn it in though, right?
They didn't even get the application.
Okay.
One request.
Yeah, just one request so far.
Since we paused, but all the other ones were already in existence.
go on to, anybody that wishes to speak in support of the request of this ordinance. If you'd like to speak, there's a sign-in sheet.
I just have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
What's the difference between what's in existence now and what the proposal is? Specific use, what changes?
Yeah, so what we've done is add for the application requirement that that business complete the specific use permit application.
So it's just a separate application,
Correct.
basically?
And an
That's,
already existing application within the city for that, but they would just complete that as well.
so it's just two applications instead of one?
Correct.
So there's really,
But with the
Changing
specific use, it
parameters,
it comes to council though, right?
Yeah, we have to
Just
approve it.
Planning and zoning, specific uses, planning and
Before
zoning.
we do.
so it's just another step, it's a time
Major
lag, so
step.
to speak, it's not really anything.
I would view it as a site-specific consideration for council. As they look at the site, they can look, do they need to impose any other requirements, considering adjacent neighbors and neighboring properties? It gives council an opportunity to have that discussion directly with the business owner.
Application fee.
Right.
Specific application.
Right.
And an opportunity to either say yes or no to it. Right now, they really didn't have that option. To say, no, we don't want that in, or yes, we want that in. So now it gives, council, veto power to allow game, rooms.
So it's
to
an
exist.
automatic prior to this
It just comes
change.
before us now, before it.
Goes to planning and zoning makes a recommendation to city council, it comes to city council. We vote on it, planning and zoning votes on it.
Thank you.
Anybody else that would like to speak in favor or would like to speak in favor of this ordinance? Okay. Anybody would like to speak against this ordinance change? Okay. Since there's no actual address, we can't do it within 2,200 feet, so it's just citizens for and against, we've covered that. And then we'll read, no action will be taken at this meeting, the planning and zoning commission will meet immediately and submit a recommendation to the city council. Final determination of the request will be made at a future council meeting.
Is that, are you through, or can I just ask a question?
Right, we can go back, what you got?
Well, I was just wondering, you mentioned no, nothing specific about footage being, I guess, being in wherever it's located, it being, not around a regular neighbor.
My public hearing
Oh.
says people within 200 feet and
Oh.
people regular citizens.
Well,
Since we don't have an actual address, we're just gonna do citizens.
Okay.
So we'll skip the 200-foot part.
Okay, well, I was just wondering on the gaming issue, the room issue, is there something that we could put in there that would say it couldn't be within so many feet of the neighborhood?
We already have them.
It's already in there?
I think it is.
Okay, good.
It's 200 feet within a church.
Okay,
school,
so it's
probably,
like
yeah.
that.
A church, school, and it's sort of things that can be, and that's walk off by the police
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
when they make the application.
Already read the statement. So this public hearing is adjourned at 7:23. We'll be right on into the next one. Unless anybody needs a bathroom break again.
On the map. What's it from Bruce?
You good? Can we start with, or you need to be back here?
I just want.
All right. Call this public hearing to order. Notice of a public hearing. Notice hereby given that a joint public hearing between the city council members, the planning and zoning commissioners will be held on Monday, February 13th, 2023, directly following the regular city council meeting, which begins at 5 at 3947 Lincoln Avenue, requested by a building official for the change of ordinances listed herein. To consider an ordinance amending chapter 11 of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Groves, creating Article 4 governing the operation of food trucks in the city. Approving C3 district, general heavy commercial district for food truck operations. Approving C2 district, general light commercial district for food truck operations upon approval of a specific use permit. Providing a permit fee for food trucks and for the site permits for food trucks. Providing a penalty, providing for codification, providing for publication by publishing the caption only. Making findings of fact, providing for an effective date. This meeting is a joint public hearing in compliance with the rezoning ordinance of the City of Groves. Additional information, contact Don Pedraza, building official, 409-960-5707. In accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act, Chapter 551 of the Texas Government Code, this notice is hereby posted February 8th, 2023, from the Director of Neighborhood Services, Don Pedraza. So we've read it. You want to?
Of course, we had no ordinance with food trucks or food trailers, and now we have a good one. And I think we went through all the procedures to bring it to this point, and I don't know if we could add any more or take anything away from it. It's pretty concise and a mixture of a lot of good things.
Mr. Monk, there's been no changes to this since the last time we approved it.
That's correct.
Okay. All right.
No, I think it's a good ordinance. I think the way that it's set out as it scales through. It's restricting for group C3 district, but then allows a little broader food truck use in C2. According to this specific use permit that would come before council.
I think we were very thorough. We did a lot of work on this.
Any other questions from City Council? Questions from planning and zoning?
Not at this time.
Okay, we will ask for citizens in support of the request to speak. Okay, citizens who wish to speak against the request. All right. No action will be taken at this meeting. Planning and Zoning Commission will meet independently and submit a recommendation to the City Council. Final determination of the request will be made at a future council meeting. Being nothing else, anybody got anything else? We'll adjourn this one at 7:27. Believe you'll have an EDC meeting.
Do y'all want to meet in my office?
Well, I think it has to be where people can listen in. They can't go behind closed doors.
It's gotta be open and closed.
I was just thinking maybe or
Yeah.
I didn't prove it.
Like this is up there.
This is right there.
Right here.
All applications.
Check it out. Yeah.
Thank you, sir. All right. Good.
Yeah.
Just.
Well, listen,
This should be
It should be
15.
15,000, but I didn't know that at the time. Yeah, I'm going to, and I'll make the changes in Word that I'll send to you.
That's yours.
You don't have, that's.
Well, when we vote,
Mr. Bixler? No, he's just asking a question.
Read it as it is.
read it as it is. and-
Look, I made you a pretty packet with your name on it.
Read it like it is, and then.
I made you a pretty packet with your name on it. You really want it.
I'm gonna go bring it to her tomorrow. You know what I'm talking about, right?
Who? Oh.
Say, man, look what- Listen to me.
Star.
Star. That don't matter. I'm making, I am gonna make one of those.
What I-
That we not the balance.
Have it first.
In the first or another day.
That we know what?
Oh, but we don't follow that. I'd rather come at 5 o'clock on another day and be gone at 5:30.
I wanted that for him.
She don't have to stay.
I know that you don't have.
Everybody's here, right?
Hey, be sure you have my coffee ready for me in the morning.
Let's get this going. Y'all ready? Huh?
Yeah.
We're gonna call this meeting order of the Groves EDC meetings, City Council Chamber, Grove City Hall, February 13, 2023 at 7:30 PM. Welcome everybody to the stage. It's not very many people stay, do they? First item, we need to approve the minutes of the January 17, 2023 EDC meeting.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of January 17, 2023 Economic Development Corporation.
I said second.
A motion is second to approve the minutes of the January 17, 2023 EDC meeting. Have any questions about the minutes? Any questions? If not, we'll vote on the motion. All in favor, say aye. All opposed, motion carries. Anyone here may have any comments? George?
Oh, hi.
Item 5, we don't have any updates. Item number 6. The sales report, do we have a copy of that in here?
I put the sales report in the agenda, the email agenda. I attached the sales report, I also attached the budget report that Lamar did for me when I was.
Mark, can you tell us what our sales tax was for the last month?
You had a record year last month, Mr. President. You had over $300,000. Last year, 303 actually, and change, which you,
304,825.
yes.
Compared to last year at this time was,
January, it's arguably the December, January timeframe, it was 286. I didn't print out that part of it, but so.
I got it.
Yeah, was it? I apologize, 291 last year versus 304 this year. What's that?
A little bit of a jump.
Nice, another record high, of which 101, 600 odd will be EDC's funds. If you have this sheet, do y'all have this sheet?
it was on the email.
It was in the email.
I'll be happy to go run and make copies.
That's all right.
Okay, but it breaks down all the expenditures that have been done for this fiscal year so far, with the beginning fund balance, revenues in, expenditures out, and any expected expenditures going forward, which is basically the budgeted transfer for admin expense, as well as the transfer to debt service to cover the fire department bond, which I was planning to do that in March. And then if nothing happened going forward, it's a big if.
Tell me what the total for the non-grant EDC expenditures was.
The budgeted transfer to the city for the admin expense is $125,000. And then to the bond payment for the fire station is is $579,750.
And that's all on the budget report.
Correct, correct. And so that being said, the beginning fund balance is almost 1.5, with the expenditures before tonight already in place and the budgeted transfers out, we would have EDC would have a fund balance of 1.1 million at the end of the fiscal year, assuming zero cash inflow or outflow, other than what's been described. Any other questions?
Now, I'd like to point out though on the budget that, the budget report in the market that he does have on here, payouts for Supers, Icy Donuts, GW Insurance and Missions Addict. He's got payouts from last 4 months.
Well, for the fiscal year,
For the
this
fiscal
fiscal
year,
year,
so
yes,
far.
just identifying,
Yeah.
rather than just giving you all a lump sum, I'm identifying where the money's actually going, which is what was discussed. Anyone else?
Thanks, Lamar.
Yes.
Item number 7, review and take record vote for changes in the advertising incentive that was discussed on the January 17th agenda. Advertising items which included T-shirts, coffee mugs, as long as it had the business name, Groves, and also Groves on that item.
That's what we.
We just
had.
didn't take a vote on it, so today we need to take a vote on it.
Yeah.
Any questions before we take that vote? Do we need a motion?
Let's go ahead and make a
Let's go
motion.
ahead. I need a motion on number 7.
Is it gonna say Groves, Texas or?
Groves, Texas.
Groves, Texas. That's what we talked about last time.
I'll make a motion that, we vote for the changes on advertising incentive that was discussed on January 17th. For T-shirts, coffee mugs, etc., to state Groves, Texas.
Yeah.
Need a second. I have a motion, and a second, to review and record vote changes for the advertising incentive that was discussed on January 17th, 2023 for T-shirts, coffee mugs, or any items that has the business names and Groves, Texas. Any other questions?
This is the one that we were adding to the signage,
To advertise it.
advertising it like signage and stuff like that too. Okay.
No, it's separate than signage.
Yes.
Yeah, but it's still only the limit to the.
$2,500.
$2,500 limit.
Now we'll vote on the motion. All in favor, say aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Item number 8, discuss and approve changes for EDC guidelines, incentives, and application. If you look, you got a handout of the EDC incentives and guidelines.
If there's a couple of things we need to change on that or discuss like what we talked about. It should be 15,000 instead of 12,000, and I'll make that change. And email it to all of you.
On the first page where it says outside signage, we're gonna show 100% reimbursement, $2,500 cap. That's gonna be added to outside signage on the first page.
Okay, which page, because they all have headings, so. Are you talking about the incentive guidelines?
Yes.
Okay, so down there, signage, I've already made that change and I'll
Okay.
email it. It is on, the list for applications, let's see,
So that's the only
Grant
change on
approval.
incentive guidelines, right?
that's on the post, I need to change it. Or add to it, because on the guideline, I mean, the business grant program, on that list is there. The $2,500 cap is there.
Which can be added to $25. You have it right here. We're gonna add it to this line here. That's the only change on that.
Outside signage.
I need a motion, a second on that too.
Well, after we've, okay, what else was it we were gonna discuss? Because I know the 15,000 is gonna be the cap. It's the cap, and I couldn't find anything that told me that.
The outdoor furniture was to be included in improvements. There's not another category. It was being included in improvements.
Okay, I included it in assistance with exterior remodeling. That's where I put the outdoor furniture. I can change it and move it. And
No,
do
that's a
whatever you
good,
want.
that's a good place for it. It's not a new category. We're just adding it to improvements. It's in addition to what you can do for an improvement.
And the 5,000 will be a cap, and that includes the 2,500, right?
Correct. So that's basically,
I
we
got a
need the
question.
motion. Yes, sir.
Question I have, everyone has a dollar figure on it, utility debris removal, assistance and exterior remodel and all that. And you get down here to outside signage and it says 100% without a cap.
Where are you at? What page?
The
you
same
on?
page we're looking at.
Oh, yeah, that's where we're adding $2,500 cap to that line.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna.
It's on the application instructions.
Yeah, I know it's
It's just
there.
not on the city guideline page.
So we gotta write.
We are
write
adding
that
that.
in.
Yes,
No,
correct.
I'll change it and I'll change it in, I've got it in Word program. I'm gonna change it, when I get home and then I will email it, to correct everything to you.
It is on there that we will be changing that.
Correct. Any other questions? I still need a motion in a second.
I'll make a motion that we accept the EDC incentive guidelines. The new EDC incentives guidelines of gross taxes.
A motion, I need a second.
So I second.
Have a motion and a second to approve the changes for the EDC guidelines and incentives and application. Any other questions? All in favor say aye. All opposed, motion carries.
Y'all need to talk up just a little bit, so that I can work a picture. That's what I listen to for the minutes. If you don't mind.
Item number 9, discuss and approve to either include or not include sales tax and EDC grant money refund. When going through the receipts, this would mean sales tax would be removed from total invoices.
Yeah, this came about, oh, go ahead. Motion second, I'm sorry.
I need a motion and a second to discuss it.
I'll make a motion. Have we discussed the approval of change to EDC guidelines and incentives on the application? Oh, sorry.
That's the next one, number 9.
That's this one here. I'll look on the other page. Discussing the approval of either include or not include sales tax and EDC grant money refund. When going through the receipts, this would mean sales tax would be removed from the total of the invoice.
Have a motion and a second.
I'll second.
A motion and a second, discuss and approve to either include or include sales tax and EDC grant money refund. Any other questions about that? That was something that was brought up that kind of never really was discussed before.
Yeah,
Mr. Bade brought that to our attention.
in the email, there was some verbiage about it that kind of told you a little bit. It came up, when I was looking through some receipts, and I just thought that we needed to talk about it, vote on it, so that it would be specific.
So we want to include or exclude sales tax.
Exclude, I say exclude. Remove the taxes.
Well, it would be like us paying their sales tax,
Right.
so
Correct.
I think remove. Anybody else?
We're gonna have a vote to remove the sales tax from EDC incentives. All in favor of removing the sales tax, say aye. All opposed? Remove the tax. Item number 10, discuss and or approve to remove the permit application fees from invoices receiving EDC grant refunds.
This came about, oh, go ahead, I'm sorry, motion.
Make a motion, we discuss and or approve to remove the permit application fees from invoices receiving EDC grant refunds.
That's what you.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to discuss and approve, remove the permit application fees from invoices receiving EDC grant refunds.
This was in going through invoices again and me looking at things and just kind of asking questions in my head. Should we have this, in the total amount that we consider for a grant reimbursement, or should we exclude it?
I can't remember if we're paying any of them application fees before.
Well, it was always included, I guess, in the complete total. So I'm thinking if we removed it, we wouldn't be paying ourselves. You know, it kind of evens out.
So this is, my permits,
Yes, permits.
Okay.
Permit, the fees for
But
permits.
would that be just on new business, new structures coming? In other words, if someone, an existing building,
Well, you could be getting an add-on and have to get a permit to do the add-on, so you have to get a permit.
You have to pull permit.
That permit fee will not be included in the EDC incentive.
And
vote on that.
electrical and plumbing.
Because they're paying the city for it, so.
You follow me? Any other questions? So we're voting to remove the permit application fees from EDC grant refunds. That's what the vote would be for. All in favor, say aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Next item is number
11.
discuss large building projects payment portion for receiving EDC grant funds. Payment portion must cover EDC grant funds disbursement or full and total amount of project. Stu, can you explain that to us?
Sure, okay. This came about when I was looking at F&G Groves LLC. I was looking at their invoices. And, you know, those are big, huge projects. And to ask them to have every invoice and everything paid in full would, it's just not the way the finances work and the way they pay things for those multi-million-dollar projects. So I was thinking that, like what we did with FG Groves LLC, Mr. Fox sent me canceled checks, and the portion of it was quite large that he's already paid, and it would cover the amount of the grant, which is going to be $15,000. So I'm thinking if we get any more of these type of projects in, and let's hope we do, that we would require them to have paid a certain portion or enough that would cover the grant that they're asking for, if they go that way. Does that make sense?
What is the last part?
Okay, if, that they would have paid enough on the building, the loan, whatever, that they're asking for, the invoices that they bring to us, that they would have paid enough on it that it would cover the amount of the grant we give them. So in other words, Mr. Fox, he paid over $97,000. There were 2 checks, and it was in your email, both of them were. He paid $97,000, his grant is $15,000. To ask him to have all of that completely paid in full is not reasonable. So the $97,000 would definitely cover. It shows his intent is good, it shows that he's paying, you know, and he's paid so much on it that it would absolutely cover the $15,000.
But we need to cover it when it does.
And we just need to discuss this. I mean, it comes up, we need to deal with it. We need a motion a second.
Yes, need a motion a second to approve this.
I'll make a motion.
Eleven.
Yeah. The way it's worded.
Yeah. Any recommendation?
Well, like I said, it has to at least cover the grant money, which the total would be $15,000 at the most they could get right now. So whatever we decide would be from there.
Projects, their payment portion must cover EDC grant funds disbursement. Basically, that's what it is.
But to get to.
That's what we discussed.
15,000 well. Has to cover at least 15,000,
Yeah,
their payments.
It's hard to remember the payment portion. Let's cover EDC grant funds disbursement.
Up to 15,000.
well, we can amend,
We'll have
the,
to pay up to 15.
Go ahead and make the motion the way it should read.
what now?
You need to make the motion the way it read, the way you want it to read.
Okay, well, Mark, you make the motion.
I'm going to be good.
Thank you.
I defer to you.
I make a motion that we discuss large building projects. Payment portion for receiving EDC grant funds. Payment portion must cover EDC grant fund disbursement or full and total amount of project. EDC grant funds, total being $15,000. Is that good?
Yes. I need a second.
Okay,
Second.
Have a motion and a second to discuss large building projects that are receiving EDC grant funds, when a payment portion must cover EDC grant funds and disbursement up to $15,000. Any other questions? If not in favor, vote on the motion. All in favor, say aye. All opposed, motion carries. Discuss and approve a yearly review of EDC application incentive guidelines during the month of October, where changes may need to be made in lieu of making changes when a situation comes up.
motion is second.
Make a motion, we discuss and approve a yearly review of EDC application and incentive guidelines during the month of October for changes that may need to be made in lieu of making changes when a situation comes up.
A second.
Have a motion, a second, to discuss and approve a yearly review. October is picked for budget reasons, for changes that need to be made in lieu of making changes when a situation comes up. Any questions about that? That's pretty self-explanatory.
Yeah, I just thought that now we can do it any way y'all want, but I just thought that if we review it at budget time and then make changes on any guideline incentive or anything else we need to. I mean, we can do it every quarterly or every 6 months, but I just thought that during budget time.
Any other questions? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Consider and discuss application for electronic billboard in front of the activity building for advertising for EDC. This is just a discussion item.
Yes.
Need some input.
I put that application in, it's attached to the email for this meeting. And the reason I did this is because Mr. Bain had brought up advertising for EDC. So, through a process of what I went through to get it, I found out that Sadie Lupo at the, activities building, I believe she's in charge of it. She had the applications. The application was sent to me, so I just thought that y'all might want to look at it, think about it, because we could advertise on that board. It's gonna cost us, and maybe we could get a discount, I don't know, but it would say something along the lines of, EDC helps business applications available, contact city clerk, and then the phone number. Just something that would,
Simple, because it don't
something
get lines up
simple,
there.
yeah, because they charge, I think, per letter or number, however they do that.
I don't know how many days it runs, but the reason I suggested is because a lot of business people that I talk with, don't know the incentive that the EDC offers.
Yeah.
George's been around a long time, so he knows, and most of your hometown guys know, but they still don't, like Dairy Queen, they don't really know everything that we offer. They never, to my knowledge, I've never seen Dairy Queen ask for one thing out here. And my God, they've been here since the '70s in the same building, you know? And I was talking to him, he said, I didn't ever think about it. You know, so they need to know about those incentives too, that way, riding down 39th Street, they see it, that was I told Ron.
We'll
I
get
think
it
they
on
will
there.
see it, I think we need to get on it and.
Well, we can, y'all can look at the application, we can discuss it and then take a vote next time.
I'll make a suggestion that we bring it at the next meeting to make a vote.
Okay.
And it being on that electronic billboard, people all over the place are gonna see it. People drive up and down 39th Main Street. So,
Moving on to the next item, review and approve EDC grant application for Pizza Artista located at 3814 Main Avenue for advertising and assistance with exterior remodeling, the amount of $5,000. These receipts, Ms. Dugas and I looked at, and they were checked.
Well, would you?
Yes.
Did y'all check, George?
I need a motion in a second.
Make a motion, we approve the EDC grant application for Pizza Artista at 3814 Main Avenue for advertising and assistance with exterior remodeling in the amount of $5,000.
1 second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the grant application for Pizza Artista for the amount of $5,000. Any other questions? All in favor of the motion, say aye. All opposed, motion carries. Thank you, George. You can leave if you want to. You can hang around for 2 more minutes.
I wanna, Frank.
Next item. Review and approve EDC grant application for Lacombe Health and Wellness located at 6039th Street for ingress and egress improvements, the amount of $5,000. That was, they redid the parking lot with asphalt. I need a motion and a second. I need a motion and a second.
I'll make a motion, we approve the EDC grant application for Lacombe Health and Wellness, 6039th Street for ingress and egress improvements in the amount of $5,000.
And we do have a representative in the back row for
All right.
wellness.
hello.
Finally. After being put on the gym 3 pounds. It's not your fault. Any questions?
There a motion in a second?
We did a motion.
Question I had, is it coming on to 39th Street?
No, it's onto the side street.
Onto
There's
the
the
side
parking
street?
lot faces the
It's
side
it's
street.
a parking lot, is what we,
Parking.
it's a parking area.
Mhm.
I just,
That's where I get my B12 shots. I see it once or twice. All in favor, say aye. All
Aye.
opposed, motion carries. Next item, review and approve EDC grant application for FG Grows LLC located 85, well, actually it's for, this is where their mailing address is, but this is for the Starbucks restaurant location. The amount of $12,500, which that's gonna be amended to $15,000 in reference to the Starbucks building. All receipts and canceled checks have been received.
Yes, and they were in your emails.
is this the, when he was, what we talked about with the developer, he didn't make the last year's, is this what we're,
That's correct.
we're trying to catch up with?
They were supposed to be doing a tax incentive and
Right.
basically we're
Not
told
doing-
to go ahead and take the money up front, right, instead of waiting for it.
Right.
And that's kind of what it boiled down to. They were well over the project cost to get the full amount of 15,000. I read it as 12,500. That's gonna have to be amended in the motion.
So this is due to a lapse in whether to do the tax incentive or do the.
Right, Mr. Doza had basically was kind of help working with them and with the attorney to get it doing the tax incentive. Then finally we just said, hey, this is a lot of work, just go ahead and take the 15,000 up front now. Instead of waiting for, no telling how long to get your money back.
Wow, yeah.
This is Mr. Fox of FG Groves LLC. He came all the way from Houston, or were you somewhere else, because you were traveling this weekend?
Houston. Oh, it's only 87 miles. Come on. And you're the developer? Yes, sir.
So you're gonna put something
Thank you.
else next to it that we can really talk about?
I would love to, working on it.
Okay.
Are you working on it good? We have the land, between Chick-fil-A and Wells on 73, and then between Wells and Starbucks, so. Oh,
Anything to share with?
You have the big piece of property on 73 too?
yes, sir.
That's a nice piece of property.
We got to take down the, whatever it was, 6-story office building and.
Right.
That's quite a big deal.
I worked on that.
Right.
We appreciate you being here tonight.
Thank you. Yeah,
Thank you very much for your
And
help.
I'm waiting for
Thanks for hanging out.
3 hours.
You bet. No worries. I appreciate it.
Thank
Been
you.
great working with y'all. Don's been great. I mean, everybody's been great.
We're looking for you to develop them other.
I like working.
If you need a cup of coffee, they have a great coffee shop down there.
I went before the meeting. Anyway, thank y'all.
Thank you, sir.
You bet.
Any other questions? All in favor of the motion, say aye. All opposed, motion carried.
Can I ask who made the motion in the second?
They did. Y'all did.
Okay, we need a motion.
Didn't
Need a motion.
Thank you, Larry.
it? Need a motion second for the grant.
I make a
application.
motion that we grant the application for FG Grows LLC. I don't know, they're looking at 8582 Katy Freeway. Houston, Suite 240, Houston, Texas, in the amount of 15,000. In reference to the Starbucks building. All receipts and canceled checks have been received.
That's right. In a second from here. Any other questions? All in favor, say aye. All opposed, motion carries. The EDC member comments.
Oh, yeah, I got one. I know y'all thought I was joking a while ago.
No, I didn't.
But the EDC is getting very, very busy now. They're very fortunate to have this kind of money to work with. And I really truly think we need to call these meetings at several times, not to be affiliated with any distractions or anything from the city council meeting.
What'd you say?
I got 2 million.
It's recommended to have an EDC on at a different time.
It only has to be once a month. Or once every.
No, this one is for me.
They're not on nobody's.
Hey, I just asked. I just, no, I'm not. I just asked, that's all I did.
Adjourn this meeting at 8:01 p.m.
Thank you. I'm sitting there. Sure, we'll go back. I'm sure we'll go back. I'm busier now than I was when I
Appreciate y'all.
Yeah, you were here.
I know you're connected, but I will get it all moving with that grants. We'll always do this. It's hard. That's what we're.